If you have an angular name, such as Mike, like me.
What do you mean, like you?
Well, my name's Mike.
So's mine.
Yeah, oh, yours as well, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mikes on the warm-up right here on TalkSport. The Lions have squared the series in Wellington after a gritty performance against the 14-man All Blacks, which leaves a tantalising final deciding test at Eden Park next weekend, live right here on TalkSport. Sonny Bill Williams became the first All Black to be sent off since 1967, and it was a narrow margin of victory. But was there really a need to do a lap of honour? 08717 22 3344. Coming up on the show, we're talking Spider-Man, how to be a maverick, and of course, it's 1 minute moan time as well. Plus, we'll be looking ahead to the start of Wimbledon on Monday with Rupert Bell. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say, time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
A very good morning to you, MG. And how can you say any of that with a straight face?
Any of what?
Any of that. You know, the British Lions squared the series, brilliant,
because it's
and all
true.
that.
I didn't say it was brilliant. I said they squared the series.
Except for the fact
with a narrow margin of victory.
Except for the fact that since this time last week,
you
said that their defeat by 15 points last week was the best result they'd get in the series.
Yes, I did say that.
And what happened today?
Today they won by 3 points.
So you are a numpty.
No, I got it wrong.
Of the first order.
No, I got it wrong. I'll tell you who the numpty is. Sonny Bill Williams is the numpty, because not only did he get sent off and the first red card to New Zealand since 1967, but he's now out of the final game, which takes place. And to be honest, I would love it now if the Lions go on and win, because
they
Sonny
go to
Bill
Eden
Williams,
Park, where nobody's ever won.
Well, where New Zealand have not lost since 1997, right? But this guy's Sonny Bill Williams. What a complete plank. What a complete and utter idiot.
Why are you having also a go at the British Lions for going around the stadium to thank the fans at the end?
Well, because it's a lap of honour they're doing.
It's not a lap of honour.
They're not thanking the fans. They're doing a lap of honour.
No.
Everyone on Twitter, right, is going, isn't this marvellous? You know, we've beaten the best team in the world.
Yes.
Well, with 14...
it's marvellous.
Well, it's not. They had 14 players.
Well, you can only play the team that's on the pitch in front of you.
I agree.
If that happens to have been knocked down to 14, that's the stupidity of the All Blacks.
I don't think it's cause for celebration. Listen, I will be celebrating with the best of them if the Lions actually win the series.
Yeah,
and go
sure, of course
back
you
to
will.
Eden Park. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah, the
It'd be fantastic. I'm not anti-British at all. Yeah, that's the sort of poison that you like to spread around about me, that somehow because I'm Scottish, I'm not somehow British.
Yeah.
You know, the point is, I love...
involved in the Euro campaign, are you?
What Euro campaign?
You know, bit of anti-Britishness, eh?
Which Euro campaign are you talking about?
Well, we will talk about that later.
Have you sobered up from yesterday?
Have I sobered up from
People are saying that, you know, the footage of you on the Porky quiz is hilarious, and then a masterstroke by me of giving you a couple of Negronis before we asked you a few questions, where you're completely bladerated after one sniff of the barmaid's apron.
That is completely untrue.
It's not.
Now, may I talk to you, please, about a campaign we are going to launch during the course of this show today?
When you say we are going to launch a campaign, I have not been consulted about any campaign that we are going to launch.
Well, you will want to get in on it.
Will I?
My very good friend Liam Gallagher.
Oh, yeah. Your good friend?
Yes.
The one who calls you Papa Smurf?
Well, that's okay. I don't mind, you know. It's
amongst other things.
Bit of tongue-in-cheek laughter. He goes to Glastonbury to address millions, both on TV and there.
I watched his Glastonbury performance. Absolutely. Which was pretty awful, to be honest.
No, it's a fantastic set, and
really?
and the world rose to it.
Did you like it?
Of course I like it.
His voice was awful.
Well, I don't agree. That is his voice.
What was your favourite song that he sang?
It is. We'll get to that in a minute. It's raw, broken glass rock and roll. But you're diverting me. The point is, at the hotel where he was staying, right, two of his classic Parker jackets were left in the hotel, and they were stolen during the course of the night.
You sure he hasn't just misplaced them?
No, they were stolen. I mean, these boys have security, okay? So he says to the horrible person who stole my Stone Island Parkers from my hotel room while I was playing Glastonbury, hand them over and all will be forgiven. LG, that's Liam Gallagher, okay?
Yes.
I have already...
Does he end it with his usual As You Were?
No, because there's not room for As You Were, which, of course, is the name of his new LP. That's why he puts As You Were on the end of them all. But what I'm saying is that I've already taken on the mantle of launching the campaign to find them. So if you're out there, please, and you have any information regarding the two Parkers stolen from Liam Gallagher.
Hang on, this is hardly a campaign.
It is.
Why is it a campaign?
Because I feel...
This is just part of your, incredible, campaign to try and weasel your way into Liam Gallagher's affections.
Not at all.
Because you're worried that the next time you see him, he's going to clock you.
No, not at all.
And by the way, if you did retweet his tweet, which I think you did earlier, it contains a rather obnoxious word.
It does, and that's why I changed it to horrible person. But it's a family show, but I don't blame him.
I can't believe you put that word out on your Twitter timeline.
Well, I didn't. I retweeted his.
That's what I'm saying, but the word's still there.
Yeah, but it's not in my words, is it? It's his. I could hardly edit his tweet, could I? I had to explain to everybody why he's so angry.
No, you didn't have to quote it, though, did you?
Well, I didn't quote it. It went out in the text of his tweet. So all I'm saying is, in my view, if anybody out there has any information about Liam's Parkers, you can send that information anonymously to us today over the next 3 hours.
What? And you're gonna ring him up and go, Liam, we've got your Parkers back.
We will pass this on to Liam Gallagher's people because we know his people. They were in this very building just 10 days ago, and we want to assist and we want to help, and we want to say by the end of the show,
please. I couldn't care less about Liam Gallagher's Parkers.
Well, that's very nice. Isn't it?
I could not care less. I had some shirts stolen. You didn't show as much interest in my shirts as you showed in Liam Gallagher's Parker because he's more famous than I am.
Yeah, I was about to say, I helped you enormously in the search for the shirts.
How?
So it's not just
Liam
Gallagher. Well, I put the pressure on them, and they eventually compensated you, didn't they?
No, you didn't put pressure on anybody.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I did.
How can you be such a barefaced liar?
No, I don't think you should start talking like that when we're trying to do some good in the world.
Well, I'm not trying to do any good.
Yeah. So listen, everybody, be aware of the fact that Liam has lost his Parkers.
What's the name of the hotel?
The name of the hotel I cannot reveal, I'm afraid.
No, so he hasn't put the name of the hotel out.
Well, I can't reveal it.
He's put a tweet out. He's obviously still bladderated himself.
No, he's
saying, whoever stole the Parkers from my hotel.
Yes.
Well, first of all, we don't know which hotel he was in.
Yes, but
so how can we be of any help to him?
The point is this. The Parkers are not in the hotel. They are his Stone Island Parkers, by the way, just to identify the sort of Parkers they are.
What's the difference between that and an ordinary Parker?
Well, it's a brand. It's a Stone Island Parker,
right.
okay?
Does it look any different?
Yes, well, it looks very typical of Liam Gallagher. The point is, there's no point in identifying the hotel because people then just flock to the hotel and try and steal things from the hotel where Liam Gallagher stayed.
Surely the point would be if you saw somebody walking around with two Stone Island Parkers in the lobby of a hotel, which is the one he was staying in, then that might be of some help.
Yeah, the point is, the angle where I'm coming from is they're not in the hotel anymore. They are out there somewhere on the streets.
No, I get that.
And people are trying to trade them.
But if you're genuinely trying to help the guy, instead of just grandstanding and sucking up to him, then what surely you would want is people to give you information from the hotel that he stayed at.
Well, if they want to.
Because they might have seen somebody walking around with two Stone Island Parkers.
Well, if they want to, and they want to contact us, then, that's up to you. But we'll take any information.
To be honest, you'd think Liam Gallagher could afford to replace the said Parker.
Yeah, but they're sentimental. He may have worn them during the recording of a particularly famous record, or he may have worn them at a particularly famous, concert that he was at.
Stone Island water-resistant hooded jacket. Is that the kind of thing?
Well, if it's a Stone Island Parker, it could be very similar, okay?
Well, would you like to put a couple of pictures out of it if you know so much about it?
Well, no, I can't because I haven't actually got a picture of the Parker. Yeah. I don't know if it wasn't embroidered specially for Liam Gallagher.
See, I don't...
Him being one of the most famous singers in the world.
This is what I'm saying. I don't think you care really about the return of the Parkers. All you care about is trying to get in with Liam Gallagher.
That's very unkind.
You're just hoping that he's going to notice you and invite you into his dressing room.
Not at all. I have no personal motive for this whatsoever.
What did he say when you went downstairs to try and talk to him last time he was in the building?
He was busy recording.
Right.
We didn't have time to see him before we went on air. I spoke to his people and they were very...
dismissive?
No, not at all. They were very, very helpful.
Really?
And we were talking about doing business in the future. Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm very glad that you're so keen to help out a multi-millionaire rock star. By the way, you see Mel B's story, sad story from her.
I can't believe it. It's unbelievable.
In a courthouse in Los Angeles where she's fighting a bitter divorce, saying that she's had a very extravagant lifestyle, has managed to blow 50 million quid.
She's
50 million?
I've got a report 40 here, $50 million.
Yeah.
Former Spice Girl Mel B lives so extravagantly that she has wiped out her entire £40 million pop fortune, her lawyer revealed last night. The former pop star, whose real name is Melanie Brown, has never had enough to pay her annual tax bill. She said Miss Brown was left with tax debts in the US thanks to her improvident lifestyle. It's unbelievable.
It is incredible, isn't it?
40 million quid. She's going to grow up. Where did she grow up? Not Watford. It was in the north. Manchester.
It was Manchester.
Manchester. That's right.
I mean, that is an awful lot of money to waste.
40 million quid.
I mean, that even blows any other extravagant lifestyle out the window. How about this from Paul? He says, given the poor tasting clothes of the suspects involved in the Liam Gallagher theft, police may be examining links with the unsolved MG shirts theft.
Yeah, well, it could be. It could be the same guy, couldn't it?
That's not what I'm saying.
Got a few crummy shirts. Now I must get some Stone Island Parkers to go with them.
Yeah, exactly
totally
right.
agree. Yeah.
Now, a lot of people tweeting in about the working class have all gone around to watch the British Lions. Why are you having a go at them? Working class people have paid 10 grand each to go and go on this tour, apparently.
Well, they've been saving for 4 years.
Well, that's an awful lot of money to spend. And
only
thank goodness,
grand a year, £50 a week.
Thank goodness that the final test is now going to be worth actually watching and listening to, because it's live right here on Talk Sport.
I was about to
next
say,
Saturday.
I was about to say, the only place you can listen to that is right here, right now, so to speak. Minus 2 hours.
Now.
Yeah, minus 3 hours.
Well, in a week.
Yeah, that's what I mean, in a week's time, yeah. By the way, did you see my contribution to nature this morning? How I was...
Well, that picture of snail.
Yeah, feeding snails for their breakfast.
Not only did I see it, but I responded to it.
Oh,
How
did
is
you?
it that when you get into work, you have no recollection of what responses have been to your tweets?
What did you actually say?
I said, what an exciting life you lead. Watching a snail crawling about on the outside of a watering can on your tiny but small postage stamp-sized roof garden.
No, just because I show compassion to nature whilst you're recovering from last night's bladderation does not make you a better person than me.
I wasn't recovering from bladderation, actually. I was playing a game with my kids. I was having a very nice time, watching a bit of television.
What was the game? Like drink one, sink one? Was that it?
No, my children are 10 and 12. They don't actually take part in alcoholic drinks.
No, they were drinking
You were bladdered
lemonade.
before the show finished yesterday. I don't think you should be talking about how much drink's being taken. Two Negronis and a couple of sidecars, for heaven's sake. I had to put you into a cab outside the building so that you could even get to the station.
That was my sciatica.
Oh, your sciatica?
Yes, it was.
How is your sciatica?
Yeah, well, it's not good, but I don't like to moan about it, so I'm not going to talk about it, okay?
Yeah, he's using that well-known painkiller called booze.
It's a wonderful night, gotta take it from me. It's a wonderful night, come on and break it.
We're all going to Eden Park. TalkSport will be there, of course, next Saturday morning.
Yes.
It is the final test. It's one apiece.
Pretty exciting.
It's going to be a fantastic crescendo to the series, really, because there was a worry that the final test would not actually be very important at all if the All Blacks won it yesterday.
Yes.
As I thought they would, to be fair. Let's talk to Lewis Moody, former Lion himself, of course, and find out what he thinks made all the difference this time. Lewis, a very good morning to you.
Morning, boys. What a game that was.
Yeah.
What a test match.
Just incredible.
Awesome.
Incredible weather, absolutely incredible scenes. And, of course, Sonny Bill Williams getting sent off, getting red carded for the first time as for an All Black since 1967 was remarkable, wasn't it?
Oh, it was remarkable. And actually, that's the first time in a long time the All Blacks caused the downfall of themselves.
Yeah.
Sonny Bill, uncharacteristically getting sent off. You could argue about, okay, did it need to be a red card? The laws are what they are now, and those sorts of challenges mean an instant red. The referee got it right. Something for the New Zealand fans and media, I'm sure, to be moaning about. Gareth's a Frenchman, of course. They don't like the French. You haven't got a great history against the French. But then also, the way that the game went, the Lions had all the ball. Bowden Barrett missing 3 kicks at goal, unheard of with the record that he has going into it. So actually it was their own demise and their own mistakes that cost them the game.
It was their own mistakes. Nevertheless, we can't allow that, can we, Lewis, to diminish the scale of the performance by the Lions?
Absolutely not, and by no means was that what I was trying to.
No, I know you weren't, but the detractors will try and say, "Oh, you're only playing against a team with a man down and all this kind of stuff." That's irrelevant.
Oh, absolutely irrelevant, especially in the conditions that you mentioned. Actually, that man down made very little difference because to get the ball wide was not impossible. To keep hold of the ball was challenge enough. You saw a lot of players taking the ball to chest rather than out in front, just so they could keep hold of it. But such a wonderful game by the Lions. Credit to Sam Warburton coming in. He's taken a huge amount of stick from the public, from some of the media. Did he deserve to play? Why did Omani get dropped? Because Omani didn't do a huge amount wrong, but he's not Sam Warburton. He's a good player, but he's not going to change a game. Sam Warburton, such an impact with Sean O'Brien around that breakdown area, and it was so prominent up front and so important for the forwards to get a stronghold in that game. But actually, it was the manner and the intent with which they played that really impressed me. In shocking conditions, offload, and they were playing New Zealand at their own game, and I don't think I don't think the All Blacks were quite prepared for it. It was just, I mean, I'm still quite hyped up by it, and I've not had enough time to reflect really and take in what they did. It's just an awesome game, and to go into a third Test match now is something proper to play for.
And how important is it that Sonny Bill Williams won't be in that game, because presumably that'll have a massive effect as well?
Well, it will. Sonny Bill, without doubt, is one of the world's best midfield players. He offers something completely different to all other centres out there. The length of his arms alone, like Mr. Tickle, bending and contorting himself to get through tackles and offload the ball. But the skill set that he has, he'll be a huge loss. But, the All Blacks, let's face it, have an enormous amount of strength and depth. And I don't think they'll be too concerned about his loss, but I think he'll be quite personally hurt because, for an All Black to get sent off in their own country, I've been through that as an Englishman, getting sent off at Twickenham, and especially what's it been, 60 years or so since anyone's been sent off for the All Blacks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like the Beckham situation, isn't it, in the World Cup in France, you know what I mean? Immediately, he became, a national disgrace and all that kind of stuff. Now, Lewis, what I was going to say to you was, this has worked out for us brilliantly psychologically. If we'd have won the first and lost the second, we'd now have the psychological pressure on us going to the third. But as we lost the first and won the second, then the run-up to the third, we are psychologically now rolling the boulder down the hill, not pushing the bus up the hill.
Well, absolutely. And the momentum is firmly with the Lions now. And, and quite rightly so. Not only because they've nicked the win, the manner in which they played the game, the amount of possession and territory they had. In the second half, actually, they were put under the cosh, but the defence then held rock solid and were able to turn the ball over, something we couldn't do in the first Test match. Everything is going now towards the line. If you throw back a couple of decades to 93, when the likes of Brian Moore were playing, Peter Winterbottom, Ben Clark, they also went out, won that second Test match, and in the third Test match were ahead. I think it was 10-0 up, but for whatever reason couldn't quite hold on to that lead. So it does give you the momentum. It's now up to the entire squad. Gatland's got a big job to galvanise the non-playing members of his squad, make sure they are 100% in and focused on the team delivering, because I've listened to Brian Moore talk before, and he talked quite candidly about the midweek guys going off tour and that hampering the performance in the build-up to that third Test match. So, you need a real team focus, and for those guys to be ready and prepared to do whatever it takes to get those 23 that are selected over the line and with the best possible chance of winning.
And presumably you'd see Warburton as captain again, and not much change to the team that Gatland put out today for next week.
100%. I think they deserve, I'm not sure what the state of players with injuries, that may affect things, but I think every one of the 15 under 23 that played had an outstanding game. So some of the selections were, of course, widely debated. The most doubted selection was possibly Sexton Fowler, who I thought just marshalled everything brilliantly and created the space for the Faletau try. Conor Murray. God, we're talking about the Lions outscoring the All Blacks 2 tries to none. The All Blacks did not score a try. I mean, that is amazing. Unheard of.
Absolutely
unheard
amazing.
of. So hats off to Gatland. I think selections for this game were spot on.
Listen, Lewis, thank you very much indeed. Lewis Moody there, former Lions flanker, of course, All England star as well. We'll be talking some more about this. We'll take your calls on it as well, if you like. 08717 223344. A lot of tweets coming in already at the 2 mics. One from Mark, who says, Porky's man of the people. I was on tenterhooks thinking he might have a campaign for the homeless or some children. But in fact, it's to find a millionaire's coat.
Yeah, well, it is, But I mean, this is important. These things have great sentimental value.
Yeah, really.
And we have the ability to help.
I think Liam Gallagher would not care if he fell over you as you were falling down in the street.
That's a bit harsh.
I don't think he would care.
A bit harsh.
Well, I've seen what he's called you on Twitter.
Listen,
some names that I can't repeat here.
Do you think, look, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. That's the way it is, okay?
Is that right?
And if the guy's in distress and he needs his coats back, I'm prepared to help him. Simple as that.
All right, thank you very much indeed. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Coming up a little bit later on in the show, we'll be learning how to become Mavericks, although I think we're already halfway there, to be honest. Got a great tweet here from D. He says, I saw Porky's rubbish picture of a snail earlier.
Yes.
I hope it decimates his pretentious roof garden, the bat-hating plank. It's harsh, isn't it?
Bat-hating?
Yeah,
Me?
you hate bats, don't you?
Well, I don't think bats are very attractive creatures.
Yeah.
I mean, and they are the source of the vampire legend.
You
so-
have previously advocated setting fire to them.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't bother me if there were no bats in the world. I see two little hippopotami.
It would, actually, because you know what would happen if there were
What?
no bats in the world?
What?
You would be bitten to death by midges.
Would I?
Yeah, because that's what they eat.
All right, well, I'm
They
glad they
take
do.
all the midges out of the equation.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad they do. Thank you very
Yeah.
much indeed. Two little hippopotami
Yeah.
have been born at Chester Zoo a week
yeah.
apart.
Really?
Isn't that amazing?
I thought you were against zoos.
I am against zoos, but I do like to see pictures of little hippopotami trotting around.
Well,
you know what
I've
I mean?
often said to you that zoos' only good thing
Yeah.
that they do is that they kind of
Preserve
extend
species.
and preserve species which might otherwise become extinct.
But but the counter argument to that is you preserve the species
Yeah.
and then keep it locked up all its life. So I don't see the point, honestly.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you're the thing that's being kept alive, I
Yeah.
think you'd rather be alive, albeit locked up, than
no,
dead, wouldn't
no,
you?
I wouldn't. No.
Well, you'd rather be dead than alive and walking around inside a cage.
Absolutely. If by any chance I committed some terrible crime and I was sentenced to life without parole.
You've been committing terrible crimes all your life.
Well, I haven't, but I mean, Piers Morgan's doing this great series at the moment on women in America,
Yes.
who've committed terrible crimes.
Yeah.
And they're all life without parole.
Did you see the last one? I think it was last week. The one that nobody could make up their minds about.
Yeah, the woman
The
who
one where there's no evidence
No.
apart from circumstantial.
circumstantial evidence only, but the circumstantial is that if the husband was dead, she got everything, and she had another
Yeah.
boyfriend, and she wanted to start a
And
new
they
life.
found the gun in her car.
And they found the gun in her car, absolutely. But
no forensic evidence at all.
no forensic. And she's a woman who, if she was out of jail, would have a lovely life. She's a good-looking woman and all that. I couldn't bear to be
don't know about that.
incarcerated.
You
No,
sure?
no, I couldn't bear to be incarcerated. So
No, I was talking about the good-looking bit.
no, I thought she was a pretty good-looking lady.
you?
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. So in my case, I would ask for the cyanide injection in the arm, please, because I wouldn't want to be around.
How about this? Now,
Yeah.
a couple more tweets for you. Patrick says, Porky rolling the boulder down the hill instead of pushing the bus up it.
Yes.
Is he still bladderated?
No. I mean, that's to give you an indication of how they feel. I mean, what I'm saying is, although the All Blacks now are even Stevens in terms of victories, they will feel like the underdogs in the third one. Because,
I think it's a good point.
Because England are on such a high. Now,
Do you mean the British and Irish Lions?
the British and Irish Lions.
Although Roger says, I thought it was the All Lions.
No,
That's
it's
what you
not the
called
All
them
Lions.
last week.
No, it's the All Blacks. Now, listen, I've been invited out tonight,
Have you?
and I'm not going
Ooh.
because
Who have you been invited out by?
Well, I'm not going to get into all that, but the venue is to taste charcoal food.
Charcoal food?
Yeah, charcoal food, and somebody sent me a note on it. So
Yeah.
come and join us. Charcoal
Yes.
food, described as the latest food and beauty fad.
Yeah.
Because this place we're going to,
Yeah.
it's not just food, but it tells you how charcoal has now worked into a range of cosmetics as well, including toothpaste.
Well, surely if you put
Black toothpaste.
charcoal, black toothpaste
Yeah.
on your teeth, they'd
Yeah.
turn black, don't they?
No, and do you know what?
Eh?
I knew this from my studies of social and economic history. The Victorians used to use soot from their own grates
Yes.
as toothpaste.
Did they?
And their teeth didn't turn black at
Really?
all. Their teeth became whiter.
That
yeah.
sounds mad.
No, it's
Because
true.
the only thing I know about charcoal, I know two things about charcoal. One, you use it to make barbecues with, right?
Yes.
And second of all, you basically, if you put it in any kind of food, because I bought
Yeah.
some charcoal cheese last Christmas.
you told me
remember?
about that, yeah.
Because it was in
Yeah.
my local deli, and,
Yes.
and I saw this black cheese, and I
Yes.
said, that looks quite interesting. And they said, oh, would you like to taste it? And I tasted it,
Yes.
and it was cheddar.
Right.
And it was really good.
Yeah.
So I bought some, and I didn't really eat much of it until sort of the new year, you know.
Yes.
But I then noticed that if you eat it, your mouth goes completely black.
Eating,
Your mouth turns
eating
black.
charcoal cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you see, this is why I'm not going. On offer tonight, Koro burgers, which are a Japanese thing.
Koro?
Yeah, but the bun is entirely black.
Right.
You know, sometimes at Easter when we have hot cross buns,
Yeah.
you know, if you leave them in the toaster too long,
Yeah.
they come out like the
Yeah,
top is
you
black.
burn them, yeah.
Well,
Set off the smoke alarm.
that's right. The bun is completely black, but
Right.
also the layer of cheese you get if you're having a burger,
cheeseburger.
cheeseburger. Thank you. The cheese is entirely black as well, right?
And what about the burger?
The burger is brown. That's brown
So
meat.
it's just a normal
but, Yeah,
burger.
but everything else around it is
Okay,
black.
right.
And the salad is normal colour and all
Right.
that. But you're eating charcoal bread with charcoal cheese. The other one on offer is the pizza with black sourdough base. It's completely black, the base, okay?
I can't get into this at all.
I can't get into it at all. I don't know anybody out there who's ever eaten it.
No.
I think it must be a mad foodie type thing. You know, only foodies
Well, I think you should,
will eat
for the
it.
purposes of research, I think you should go and report back.
No. During the course of it, I've been offered a charcoal face pack which you can have done during the course of the evening.
Charcoal face pack.
A charcoal face pack.
Yeah.
And that's, like a mud pack you've seen ladies use in the past. Same thing, but it's charcoal,
Right.
okay?
And then presumably that peels off and it's in some way beneficial to your skin.
Yes, beneficial to your skin. Bottles of water served with charcoal pieces in them.
Why?
I don't know. It's dissolving.
But who's come up with all this rubbish?
Well, it's the next new craze of eating.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I know, but I mean, it's one thing to say,
all
right, let's put some charcoal into cheese, or let's put some charcoal into. But to suddenly put it into everything. I mean, it seems to me it's a bit like going to a rhubarb place and having rhubarb on everything, isn't it? Isn't it a bit over the top?
It could be. Charcoal coffee, very best sort of coffee to cope with hangovers.
Really?
Charcoal comes into its own. Activated charcoal is used to prevent poisons and toxins like alcohol from being absorbed in the body.
I was in Greenwich Market the other week, right? And they had a very sort of gourmet coffee stand there.
Where was this?
Greenwich Market. And they were selling a Scotch whiskey flavoured coffee.
Right. Scotch whiskey flavoured.
Yeah.
That'd be quite nice, I would think.
Well, I don't know if there was actually whiskey in it. I don't know. I didn't find out.
The bamboo charcoal toothpaste, continued brushing with charcoal toothpaste is the fastest way to whiten teeth without bleaching them.
Really?
The colour is more of a slate. The toothpaste, it's not dark black, it's like slate colour. Bit unsettling, but it tastes fine. It's minty and fresh. The texture is a little granular too.
Really?
A week's brushing produces little change, but if you did it for several weeks, at the end of it, your teeth change from yellow to white.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe you should try it.
That's what I'm being told. Okay.
I'm not buying anything with charcoal in it. I don't think, apart from charcoal.
No.
To put on the barbecue.
Yeah. Well,
I have a barbecue this weekend actually.
Sorry.
It's not very warm though, is it? It's not very warm.
No, it's not warm enough at the moment. A lot of it's being pushed in a report I received from Edzard Ernst.
Who?
Edzard Ernst.
Edzard Ernst?
Yeah.
Is that a company?
No, he's the emeritus professor of the University of Exeter, and he wrote a book on homeopathy. He says the undiluted facts is charcoal can absorb some substances, but not all, and it can only do that in the gut. But the bits it does absorb are very, very useful to the body. It means that for detoxifying the body, these things can happen.
So he's saying it's a good thing.
He is saying it's a good thing, yeah. The undiluted fat. No, he's against it.
What?
No, sorry.
What?
He's against it. He says, old Edzard saying it absorbs things that most body needs, for instance, medications, which can lead to problems. Foremost, it absorbs water from the gut, which can lead to dehydration.
Well, you just read that bit out, but you said he was for it.
He's against it.
He's against it.
So I think they're being quite fair here and saying, look, not everybody thinks it's great, but come along. So I think that's very fair of them. Yes.
Chris says this, Porky claims to have read so many studies, any normal human would be a scholar. Please can we mite this absolute plank?
Yeah.
Mite?
Yeah.
M-I-T, I think he means mute. We can't mute you.
Mite, isn't that a biblical word for, we smitten them and all that kind of stuff?
Isn't it?
Yeah, smite, mite, I suppose it's all the same kind of thing.
Mandy says, how's Porky's frozen shoulder and what pills, if any, did he take to cure it?
Well, I didn't, actually.
Mine needs chopping off. What does he suggest?
No, I didn't. What I did is I did a series of exercises recommended to me, very small exercises. When you get frozen shoulder, the only way to bring it back is to try and reactivate those muscles that have gone, dead.
Yeah.
That's where the frozen bit comes from.
Is that right?
But you don't do it by being, enthusiastically energetic.
Yeah.
You have to do it really bit by bit, and I've been working on that, and that's getting better. Thank you very much indeed.
So you're generally on the mend, really, aren't you?
Well, I'm trying to get on the mend because it was very hapless this time last week.
I think you're working too hard. I think you take a couple of days off. I think that's the answer.
Well, funny enough, we are taking a couple of days off, aren't we?
We are.
I'm not going to be around on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
May not be around on Wednesday. We'll see how it goes.
See how it goes. You can probably feel an awful lot better though. Now, that's a very clever little segue, that, isn't it?
Why?
Paint it black.
Paint it black, All Blacks?
Well, the All Blacks, one. Also, two, I'm looking at a video which has been sent in by Jim.
That's right.
Of some women brushing their
Yes.
teeth with charcoal
Yes.
and making their mouths completely black.
Yeah.
But in the end, after they take all the charcoal away,
That's right.
saying how much whiter their teeth look.
That's right, absolutely, yeah.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of unusual things out there in the big wide world, and we're going to speak now to a man who knows a little bit about unusual things. His name is Phil Beadle. He's an ex-Guardian columnist, amongst other things. He's written a book called Rules for Mavericks, a manifesto for dissident creatives. Now, I don't know whether you'd call yourself a dissident or indeed a creative.
I wouldn't even call myself a maverick.
I'd call myself a maverick.
No, I'm a traditionalist. I go where the establishment goes, really. I just do it better.
How disappointing.
Yes.
Phil, a very good morning to you.
Hiya.
Hi, Phil.
Now, what is the definition of a maverick?
What's interesting about it is one of the two of you has just decided that you are a maverick, and the most important thing about it is it's not self-defined.
So who defines it then?
The powers of orthodoxy. It's actually, we tend to wear it as a kind of badge of brilliance, but in fact, it's a slag off, really. And what a maverick is basically somebody who threatens an established position. And that established position, those traditionalists automatically use the word maverick in order to make that person comic. So if we use it in terms of football and sport, you would see that Alan Hudson and Stan Bowles and Tony Curry, all of whom in some way threatened the established position of rubbish English football, were defined as mavericks. And what happens if you've got an orthodoxy that rejects the mavericks is you end up with a whole team full of Carlton Palmers.
Yeah, the only problem...
Very harsh on Carlton Palmer.
It is a bit harsh on Carlton Palmer. Some would describe him as the worst player ever to receive an England cap, which I think is very harsh.
Many people do say
very harsh. But, Phil, the thing is, what you've just said about the Mavericks, those footballers you mentioned, all ended up with very tragically, wrecked lives, for one reason or another, not because they wouldn't follow the establishment, but because they lived life by their own rules. And unfortunately, when you do, like George Best did, George Best said, I don't care how much I drink, and he ended up dying of liver cancer after a liver transplant. Mavericks, generally speaking, don't win, do they?
Well, nobody does. We all die.
Yeah, in various ways. I hope I'm not going to die in a hospital bed,
There's a pretty good chance you die in a liver failure, though.
Well, yeah. Well, that's debatable, but still. But anyway, go on, Phil. Yeah, we all die.
I don't know. I think that's slightly errant in that you can't blame Alan Hudson for a car crash, nor indeed can you blame Stan Bowles for getting dementia.
Yeah.
These things happen to people that are not defined as mavericks. For instance, non-smokers die every day. It's just not publicised. And so, the idea of a maverick's life being that of a rake's progress, and it's just absolutely destined, inevitably, to end in a kind of ignominious defeat. Well, that happens to all of us.
I mean, you also say, Phil, that you made a note of the point that I said I thought I was a bit of a maverick. I mean, the fact about surely being a maverick is that if you are defined by somebody else as a maverick in a negative connotation, if you actually really are a maverick, you don't care.
That's a fair view, but I think what happens, because I'm by profession, I'm a teacher and relatively well known at it. And what happens is that people keep chucking this accusation at you kind of with some dim cognizance that it might be a compliment, but actually one gets heartily sick of it. And there's a line in the book which just says, look, you're not a real maverick if you want to be a maverick. You're not a real maverick until you're absolutely sick of having this thing termed at you. And the reason behind the book was I had this accusation so very, very many times by people wearing kind of grey business suits that I wanted to have a look at what they actually really meant. And what it really means is that you are a threat to an established order.
Yeah, you won't do what you're told, in other words.
No, and I find this like in my own kind of somewhat diminishing career, talking about a rake's progress. Like historically, as an English teacher, I've got the best results in the country for about 10 years.
Brilliant.
But I'm finding, and in challenging circumstances, I'm finding it increasingly difficult to get work because what matters is not one's ability, and what matters is not the results that people get. What matters is one's ability to fit within a hierarchical structure.
We've all been in those wells, haven't we? I mean, Mike and I used to be in Fleet Street, which, despite the fact that you might expect it to be full of creative people, it's actually run by some very boring people in large number.
Yeah, but Phil, the best mavericks are the successful mavericks. That's how I was comparing them to Alan Hudson and Stan Bowles. For instance, Richard Branson. Fantastic, billionaire, maverick. What was the guy? He was the guy who published all the magazines and made himself billions. And
the guy from Oz?
Felix who?
Felix someone.
That's right, Felix someone. He was a maverick who in the end bought hundreds of acres of land to plant more trees in this country because he wanted more trees. These are the successful mavericks, and these are the best mavericks because they didn't really set out to be mavericks. They just did it their way.
There's another element to it, is that a maverick doesn't actually focus on success. They focus on their game.
That's a good point.
And they focus on their singular vision of the game, whatever game it is they play. So if you're thinking about the Felix guy that wrote the very poor poetry but made millions and millions and millions of pounds out of publishing. Yeah, he was interested in what he did to publish him, whereas like Richard Branson was interested in releasing some rather odd progressive rock records.
That's right.
And I think it's just focusing on the game, up in the game, and continually going along the path and the vision that you've got that actually causes you to be successful. Now, in truth, what Maverick is it's a slag off of people that are successful through not playing hierarchical games.
Yes, I agree with that.
It's a bit like people who claim to be eccentric, isn't it? You know immediately they can't possibly be eccentric on the grounds that they're claiming to be exactly that. I mean, I used to know a guy when I worked at Mirror Group who wore tartan suits because he thought it made him unusually eccentric. And in fact, he was the least eccentric bloke you'd ever met in your life. And he was a money man, and he was a managerial type. Really, really boring. You wouldn't have wanted to be on a long train journey with him.
Yeah, well, there's a line in the book about people like to fit in, people like to conform. And what happens within hierarchical structures is that we make some base claim towards iconoclasm based around our taste in novelty socks.
Yeah.
So the
that's right. No, you're absolutely
like
right.
Jon Snow, the Maverick.
Yeah, any Burke who turns up wearing red socks in an interview with a grey suit. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, we'll automatically dismiss them.
Yeah, of course we will. Yeah, we won't have them anywhere near there. Where do you rate Morrissey? Because I mean, he's just off his rocker.
He's just annoying, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm afraid I disagree with you. I think Morrissey is kind of one of the greatest lyricists of all time, and he's a man once again who's stuck to a vision. Now,
you don't think he's annoying?
I don't find geniuses annoying. I like to commune with their work. I think his politics can occasionally be a little bit dubious.
I'm not worried about his politics. I just find him quite irritating, really.
Well, perhaps it's easy to see people as irritating on the surface when you actually haven't delved deeply into their work. He's got a quality control that goes up as far as Tom Waits. So he's produced, and that again is what a Maverick's being about, producing a really good body of work no matter what field you're in.
Now, you have been in many different fields, and some parts of the book refer to the rock business, not just somebody like Morrissey, but people like David Bowie and others. I mean, would you say, for example, that the business has now become, shall we say, sort of less possible to succeed in as a maverick because of the way that it's become
conformity
incorporated a lot more,
Well, I think Simon Cowell, in terms of music, I think Simon Cowell's got a hell of a lot to answer for, as has kind of digitisation of music, in that secondly, the digitisation thing means it's impossible for young bands such as Roxy Music or their current ilk to make any money whatsoever. But there's also this kind of homogenisation of music caused by Mr. Cowell and the kind of awful travesty of musicality that the people that he mentors actually create.
Yeah, it could be. Now, Phil, let me tell you this. The greatest maverick of all time, Mick Jagger, 50 years ago today, The Times wrote the famous leader, "Do you break a butterfly in a wheel?" And the minute that Times was published, which of course was the height of the establishment, Mick Jagger was let out of jail because
you might say actually that the person that was being a maverick there was, I think it was Woodrow White.
No, it wasn't. It was
Rees Mogg, wasn't it?
Rees Mogg. William Rees Mogg was the editor of the Times, and he said, "Why are we doing this? Why are we persecuting this young man?" And the following day, Mick Jagger was let out of jail.
Well, in which case the maverick behaviour there is on the part of Rees Mogg.
Right.
And, fair play to him because the Times is the bosom of the establishment. Yeah. And to actually reject the punitive kind of stuff on a child, which is what Jagger basically was then.
Yes.
It shows an enormous amount of bravery.
Yeah, exactly. It changed the establishment forever, I think.
No.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Is there one thing that you can look back upon? You were talking earlier, Phil, about the difficulty now that you find getting employment from certain places. Is there one thing that you've done that is kind of carried along with you? Like, can you imagine people sitting around in a room saying, "Oh, we don't want to get this guy involved because of blah, whatever he did"? Is there something that you did?
The teaching profession have never really forgiven me for being on telly.
Really?
No.
Why? Because most teachers aren't very good looking.
Perhaps there was jealousy of my absolute physical beauty, but
exactly, yeah.
But I think it's just I think when you achieve a degree of notoriety, then the professional jealousy is quite publicly expressed, and I still now, even 12 years after I was last on telly, receive a lot of that.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Well, listen, Phil, I presume the book is available in all Maverick-type places and also un-Maverick-type places.
It's available in some good bookshops.
Excellent.
Some good bookshops.
Good
Excellent.
stuff. Well, good luck with it, Phil.
Thanks,
Thank
Phil.
you very much indeed. Phil Beadle there, whose book is out now, called Rules for Mavericks, a manifesto for dissident creatives. I have to say, I didn't want to bring this up in case you were embarrassed by the relevance of it all.
Yes.
But basically, a lot of people saying, what about Maverick from Top Gun?
Oh, Maverick from Top Gun.
Surprised you didn't mention it.
And by the way, well, I didn't want to in case because that would have skewed the debate. But wasn't there also a TV series called Maverick many
there
years
might
ago?
well have been.
I think there was, like the Virginian and the Lone Ranger.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there was a Maverick.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to keep talking
And
about old TV shows.
No, I'm
from
not
the
talking about
70s.
old TV shows. But what I'm saying is that's where I think Top Gun, old Tom Cruise got his title from.
Do you think?
I think
I
so.
thought you were supposed to be leaving behind all this nonsense
I'm
from the
not
past.
talking about the past,
That's all
man. I'm
you
looking
do.
to the future.
All you do is talk about the
Rubbish.
past. It's the only thing you can remember.
Rubbish. The past is a distant memory to me.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, everything's a distant memory to you.
What?
Debbie Harry, eh?
Yeah.
72.
72 today.
That's amazing, isn't it?
She was the world's most glamorous blonde, wasn't she?
She was very much the world's most sort of sexy blonde at
she
one
was.
point, I think.
Well, they named the group after her.
Well, they did, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a very successful group. She wrote a lot of the songs as well.
She was-
I didn't realise
yeah.
she was so
With
musically
Chris
talented. With Chris Stein,
Yeah.
who was her boyfriend, who was the guitarist in the group.
Yes.
Who got some terrible
Didn't they
illness.
end up getting married?
I'm not sure about that. They were together a long time, but
Yeah.
he contracted some terrible illness in the 80s.
Yeah, it was a terrible kind of
And-
skin infection of some kind, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And not to date things, but Mick Jagger's, I think it was Jerry Hall was having one of Mick Jagger's babies in New York.
Right.
So we all shot off down to Lenox Hill Hospital in New York, and there was a woman sitting in the corner, looked like a bag lady,
Yeah.
literally. She was sitting there all wrapped up. It's very cold. It was December, and she had a trolley with her, and we suddenly discovered from one of the staff of the hospital it was actually Debbie Harry.
Debbie Harry.
Whose boyfriend was in the hospital being treated for this terrible illness.
Yeah, because for a
And
long time nobody knew what happened to them.
nobody knew what happened, and he was spending an awful lot of time in hospital. But anyway, there you are. And to think she's 72 now is amazing. Isn't
It's
it?
remarkable. It's still playing as well. I think Blondie still do the odd show.
Yeah, they do.
from
Well,
time
she
to
certainly
time.
does, yeah.
Andy says this: Morrissey about as much a genius as Mike Parry.
Hey, that's a bit
Hashtag
harsh,
pop
isn't it?
star plank.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got his own little clique of super fans, hasn't he? Who think that he's like a messiah, really. You know what I mean?
Okay, David, on the subject of frozen shoulder,
Yes.
they usually stick a needle of cortisone up your shoulder for frozen shoulder,
Yeah.
or tell you it will eventually go away.
Yeah, the problem with cortisone is it destroys human tissue, and you'll find a lot of footballers from the old days, so to speak. We had mud patch pitches and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
They're often told at half time, "There's nothing wrong with your knee, son. That injection won't
Injection
put
of
right."
cortisone. A lot of old footballers have got terrible problems.
That's what I'm saying.
Because of that, right?
That's what I'm saying. So just to hide the pain, give an injection of cortisone. Cortisone damages human tissue. These guys are now all walking around with dodgy knees and all this kind of stuff.
Well, Jason Cundy's one of them. I mean,
Is
he's got
Yeah.
terrible knees, and Mr. Brazil has got terrible knees as a result of it
Al
as
used
well.
to tell me about the cortisone injection and all that kind of stuff, and perhaps it wasn't the best idea. Now, talking football, right, I come across a headline this morning in one of the publications which says Spy Southgate.
Oh, Gareth.
Yeah, Gareth. Pep, as you call him,
Yeah.
as we call him. It says Gareth Southgate is on a spying mission in Russia this
Is he?
weekend.
Blimey.
Wow.
What's he doing there?
Well, it says the England boss will check out potential World Cup rivals by watching tomorrow's Confederation Cup final between Germany and Chile in St. Petersburg.
Oh, yeah.
Well, actually, you don't have to be a spy to watch that.
No, you can buy a ticket, can't you?
You can buy a ticket, you can watch it on telly, but it makes it sound like old Mr. Southgate's going to be on the roof of the stadium with his binoculars.
Well, maybe he's going to wear a disguise.
Wear a disguise, that's right. Yeah, maybe he'll shave his beard off or something like that.
Yeah.
But it says he's going there to make sure that he's... another headline here. Gareth's mission.
Oh, yeah.
It's his mission. And it says he might also take in a few venues that could be used as a base for the Three Lions squad as part of his fact-finding trip. Well, I'm actually qualified for that World Cup yet, so he's obviously very do
you think he was also
confident that we will.
Was he also on a spying mission at last night's under-21 final between Germany and Spain?
I would imagine he would be.
Because it's in Poland, right? So it's in that general direction.
Yes.
If he's going to head to Russia.
Well, that's probably what he's doing.
But, I mean, surely it would make more sense for him to watch those guys playing, because if he's expecting to be the England manager for years to come, he should be seeing the future stars of Spain and Germany, shouldn't he?
Absolutely. Now, it says here Mr. Southgate spent let's call him Gareth. Yeah, it's unfair to call him Pep, really.
I call him Pep.
Oh, you call him Pep. Okay.
I prefer that.
Okay, Southgate spent 4 days in Russia this month and attended games in Moscow, Kazan and Sochi. But also, he wants to assess potential opponents and review logistics ahead of the 2018 World Cup. Southgate and the FA have ruled out being based in Moscow because of the traffic gridlock problems, and they are severe, by the way.
Are they?
Oh, horrendous.
Why is there so much gridlock in Moscow?
Because there is so much building going on in the centre of Moscow.
Well, I mean, a bit like London, then.
Yeah, it is, a bit like that.
I tried to drive through the centre of London the other week.
Yeah.
Last week, in fact. Unbelievable.
It was
around Liverpool Street. And it's just incredible. They've closed off half the roads.
I know, it's shocking. It is absolutely shocking. And people say, Brexit or non-Brexit, is the economy going to suffer and all that? The amount of building going on in this country everywhere you go. Manchester's the same.
I know.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. But, I mean, long may it last in its prosperity.
So it's because the roads are all closed in Russia rather than because of all the cars.
Oh, no. Well, it's a combination of the both. You've got to remember that under Soviet communism, hardly anybody had a car.
Yes.
The majority of the cars were owned by the state. The Zills used to use the Zill lane in the middle of the road.
Right.
Nobody else could use them, so they never had any traffic problems. And the rest were really just sort of workers' vans and that kind of stuff. But nobody owned a car. But anyway,
because I've seen my only knowledge, and this is now going to be me sounding like you.
Yeah.
My only knowledge of the streets of Moscow is from the Bourne movie.
Yes.
Where they have that great car chase.
Yes, that's right.
But I don't know whether that was even shot in Moscow.
No, we don't, do we?
I mean, well, you should, because you've been there.
Well, I've been there, but I mean,
did you recognise any of it?
Well, yeah, but when you think that, the Carry On film about the desert, what was it called? Carry On
up the Khyber.
No, I was in Pakistan. That was about the Khyber Pass, which is in Pakistan. No, Carry On. It was about the French Foreign Legion.
Was it?
Carry On.
I don't know. I'm not an expert.
Was it Carry On Kepe? Because that's the name of the hat that the Foreign Legion
definitely
wear.
Not Carry On.
Carry On, Follow That Camel.
Right.
It was called Carry On, Follow That Camel.
Right.
And that was all supposed to be done in the Sahara.
Right.
And it was actually...
Is this from the 70s again, this movie?
I'm not sure.
I mean, everything you tell me is from the 70s.
Yeah, no, but it was Carry On, Follow That Camel. And
ever since you've told me you're not going to talk about the 70s anymore, all you've done is talk about the 70s.
The Phil Silvers was in it, right?
Phil Silvers.
Yeah, but it was actually shot in somewhere like Abersock or something like that. You know what I mean?
Well, I've told you when I did that interview with the guy from the Carry On films years ago, but it was the Carry On Columbus, which was the last one they made.
Yeah, Jim Dale.
Jim Dale.
Yeah.
And he said it was so cheap, the budget for the film, was that when they all got on the ship, and the ship was supposed to be sailing off into the sunset, they moved the scenery. To make it look like, because the ship was built in a studio, and they had two guys carrying, the sky, and they moved the scenery, and the ship actually stayed where it was.
Yeah, amazing.
Now, how about this from Kira, who says another great maverick was the great rugby players Tommy Martin and Bobby Goulding.
Who? Rugby?
Tommy Martin and Bobby Goulding. I can't say I know.
Were they soccer or what?
What's she saying? Rugby players.
Rugby players? Yeah. Never heard of either of them, I'm afraid. So Mavericks are a good thing if they win, but most often they don't.
Now, I've got a small correction to make from something you said earlier. You said that up at Chester Zoo, there were 2 hippo calves that were born.
That's right.
It turns out they're actually black rhino calves.
Yes, but I tell you what.
So they're not hippos, they're rhinoceros.
No, but I'm not going to apologise for the mistake because I only saw the pictures of them, on social...
Well, you say a hippo looks like a rhino.
I'm saying that a baby hippo is identical to a baby rhino, because a baby rhino doesn't have a horn.
Really?
It just has a big nose like a hippo. So it's not my mistake. No, it's not.
Well, I'm sure there are plenty of ways of telling what a baby hippo and a baby rhino look like.
No.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be podcasts coming out a little bit later on, of course. And we'll be doing a 1 minute moan coming up in a little while as well. Lionel Messi's wedding. I'm just looking at the pictures of it, right? Marries his childhood sweetheart, a beautiful woman by the name of Antonella. And there's an amazing picture of them when they were children together. They've known each other for 25 years, right?
25 years. They're fantastic.
And when they got married in this exclusive hotel in Argentina, they had 450 police officers drafted in to do the security, plus former members of Mossad. To do the security on it as well.
The Israeli Secret Service.
Xavi Alonso's there, Cesc Fabregas, Carlos Puyol, Puyol, who's playing in that Star Sixes.
That's right, he is, yeah.
The guy's name you can't pronounce.
That's
and
right.
also Neymar was there.
Yeah, Neymar.
Along with, I think, Mr. Suarez as well.
Amazing, isn't it, eh?
No sign of Ronaldo, though.
No sign of Ronaldo. Was this in Buenos Aires?
I believe it was, yeah.
Which, of course, means good air.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like a very glamorous event, actually.
Well, I'm sure it is. If the world's top footballer
gets married... It's actually in Rosario, which is, I think, where his hometown is,
Yeah, that's right, it is. Yeah. Oh, well, that's fantastic. Well, that's...
He was wearing a blue Armani suit.
Yeah.
His bride... they had a son called Tiago, I guess, so maybe that's their son together.
That's right, yeah.
He still hasn't shaved his beard off.
No, that's brilliant stuff. I've just described him as the world's top footballer, but I suppose that's a title being shared equally by himself and Ronaldo at the moment, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, but you might say, actually, this year it's Ronaldo, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you look at the length of their careers, you'd have to put them neck and neck, wouldn't you? Because they've been, one year to another bouncing between each other as the world's top.
Sergio Aguero was also there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone who was anybody in the world of football, apart from Alexis Sanchez, of course,
absolutely
who's
fantastic.
playing in the final that Pep Southgate's going to be spying on.
That's right. Now, as for Rosario, the town Rosario,
yes,
how do you think it rates in towns of, in Argentina?
Well, you've been to Argentina, and I haven't.
Yes, I have, yeah.
By the way, did you see that tweet from somebody yesterday who said they were listening to the Two Mikes podcast while travelling through the Atacama Desert?
That's right, in Chile.
I think we should combine. I think we should get some kind of a chart going where people are listening to our podcast.
I think we should as well.
The Atacama Desert. Yep. There's a guy in Crete this morning listening to it. Yeah. There's people in Tenerife. There's people in Hong Kong.
There's people in the Bahamas. And the Caribbean,
Barbuda,
and certainly a lot in Australia and on the west coast of America.
Yeah, I've got some bad news on the places to go and nice places to live front, especially for Adrian Durham.
Oh yeah,
you know he's always been raving on and on about how great Hull is.
Yes, that's right. He went to university there.
Well, we've just had another vote on the worst places to live in the UK.
Yes,
from ilivehere.co.uk.
Yeah,
and Hull has come second.
Second
as
in
one
the
of the worst places to live.
Let me see. This is in ilivehere.co annual survey, and you won't believe it. Hull is the second worst place. You know the first worst place?
Where's the first?
Dover.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, actually.
There'll be
Have you been to Dover recently?
Over
I don't want you to sing. I thought you were getting away from the past.
I'm not getting...
Why are you singing the Vera Lynn song from the war?
No, I'm not. I mean, Dover's still there today. Don't worry about that.
I'm not worried about it.
Is it because it's a seaport, and, of course, in these days with open borders and all that kind of stuff, it's a very busy place?
Well, I'll tell you what, there has been a bit of an influx of what you might call the old immigration problem in Dover.
Well, that's bound to be if it's one of our British seaports.
In fact, I've been told that the sort of social services there are kind of completely and utterly overwhelmed by the number of families who have arrived with kids.
Right.
The schooling, there's a problem with getting all these kids into schools.
I'm sure there is,
finding housing for them all.
Yeah.
And as you say, because it's a ferry port,
yes,
it does tend to be a little bit windswept looking. And if you drive along, I mean, the only reason I've been to Dover within the last couple of years has been to jump on a ferry.
Yeah.
And if you drive along where the ferry port is, it's pretty bleak.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it is.
There's not very much there to see.
An approach road to a ferry port would be. So Dover's the worst, Hull's the second, Luton the third.
Luton.
And they've got a quote from Luton. They've got to say, one of the most shocking moments in Luton was on Christmas Day. My friends pointed out the local McDonald's and says it gets busier every year.
Well, how is that a bad thing?
Eh?
Why is that a bad thing?
Well, I don't know. Perhaps they're saying that every year on Christmas Day, the McDonald's open, it gets busier.
Yeah, but does that mean more and more people are going to McDonald's?
Well, it looks like it for their Christmas lunch.
Yeah. Luton is a hellhole, isn't it?
I wouldn't say Luton's a hellhole.
It really is.
I mean,
what have you got to say that's good about Luton?
Nothing.
Nothing.
But that's because I've only ever been to Luton Football Ground. And,
the Hatters.
Yeah, the Hatter. I stayed over there one night, actually. It was a night game Everton were playing in a League Cup game, I remember, And I went
stayed over in Luton?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Well, it's only 20 minutes from central London on the train.
I can't remember why I stayed over in Luton, but I did, for some unknown reason.
I mean, you go all the way to Everton and Goodison Park and you don't stay over.
Well, sometimes it depends what time the kick-off is.
No, I know, but Luton is very close to London.
Well, this was a night game, so it wouldn't have finished till 10 o'clock or 10:30. I'd have had a few sherbets in the boardroom afterwards, and then I think I went back to a hotel with somebody, and that might have been the reason why I stayed. Anyway,
a hotel with somebody?
Yes, after that...
Somebody of a gentler, fairer persuasion?
Yes, definitely, yeah.
From Luton?
Yes.
What, somebody you just met?
somebody that I kind of knew, and things happened.
Sounds quite sordid.
And I want to make it absolutely clear, it's not the former newsreader who used to work at Talk
Do you mean
Sport.
Faker Others?
Faker Others, definitely not.
Who I think has got another name now because she's been married.
She is, and she's a big Luton fan.
Why would you make it clear that it's not her?
Well, because she's the best-known Luton person who's ever worked here, so people might have been, thinking about it, and I want to defend Faye's honour. There's absolutely nothing
the head of our digital department comes from Luton as well.
I think he does, that's right, yeah, absolutely. Now, fourth down, Scunthorpe. I went to Scunthorpe.
I've never been to Scunthorpe.
I went to Scunthorpe. That's
Lincolnshire.
Lincolnshire.
Yeah.
That's where I got the lift to the game on the team coach.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, from a very nice...
David Moyes.
Yes, from
or Moisey, as you call him.
Moisey, very nice country club outside.
Before it all went horribly wrong.
Before it went horribly wrong. Now, fifth, Rochdale.
Rochdale, I've never been there.
I don't think I've ever been to Rochdale.
Really?
I don't think so.
Isn't that where Gordon Brown saw that woman who he called that dreadful woman, the bigot?
The bigot, that's right.
Yeah,
It was,
that was Rochdale, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're absolutely... And by the way, Rochdale has a few connotations.
Yeah.
I think David Unsworth, who's head of Everton's youth team and a former great Everton skipper and penalty taker, I think he comes from Rochdale.
Does he?
Right, Bradford. Been to Bradford?
I think I've been through Bradford and I was underwhelmed.
Yeah, I spent months in Bradford.
Did you?
Because, of course...
George Galloway's a big fan of Bradford, isn't he?
He is a big fan of Bradford. I spent months in Bradford on the trail of the Yorkshire Ripper, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Just before I found him.
Yes, there's some doubt about that story
No, there's
now.
no doubt.
Now that there's a
No
book
doubt.
out in which the story that you told is being told by somebody completely
Well,
different.
that's not my
Almost as
problem.
if you've completely stolen his story.
No, not at all. Gravesend, right?
What was his name again, that guy? Stanley Blenkinsop.
Stanley Blenkinsop,
the
yeah.
news editor.
Yes, that's
who
right.
tells the exact same story that you tell,
Yes.
except with him in it rather than you.
Yes, but he's dead.
No, he's not.
He is.
No, he isn't.
Stan is dead.
He's not.
Stan is
well,
dead.
he's quoted in this book.
The book he might be quoted in, but I can promise you, Mike,
Are
Stan
you
is
sure?
dead. I'm certain.
Absolutely sure.
Absolutely certain.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why you're telling lies about it then, because you know he can't answer you.
I've never told a lie in my life. Now then, number 7, Gravesend. Is it true that Gravesend is called Gravesend because during the Black Death, that's where they took all the bodies?
Now, we had this conversation before, and I
Yeah.
can't remember what the answer to that is.
Yeah.
I think there might be some truth to it.
Might be some truth to it.
Yeah.
Number 8 is...
But I don't think I've ever been there.
No, I haven't either. Number 8 is Sunderland. Well, we've talked enough about
Sunderland.
Sunderland over the last couple of days, so we don't want to dwell on
isn't
that.
it interesting, though, that we discovered that our producer,
Yes.
Izzy, went to university in
That's
Sunderland?
right, yeah.
And she said she had a great time up there.
Well, she said that, but then she said a couple of years later we decided to have a reunion. So they all met in Sunderland. And
Yeah.
the first thing they said apparently on the night was, this isn't much cop, let's go to Newcastle, apparently.
Well, I wasn't going to give that bit away, to be
That's not
honest.
being rude to the Sunderlandites.
Are you sure?
Now then, number 9, Oldham.
I've never been to Oldham.
Yeah, I've been to Oldham.
Have you?
Yeah. One quote from Oldham. I think Oldham was best summed up by a friend of mine who remarked that the people look as though the government has been performing nuclear testing in the local area.
That's very harsh.
That is very harsh indeed. Oldham is a fine, fine town. Where I used to work on the Daily Express in Manchester, Great Ancoat Street,
Yeah.
the street that was at a 90-degree angle to it was Oldham Street.
Oh, so how far away from Manchester?
6 or 7 miles up to Oldham. And
the only
Saddleworth Moor and all
reason
that.
I laugh about whenever
Yeah.
Oldham is mentioned,
Yes.
although it was, of course, the place where I think Paul Dickoff was the manager for a while, wasn't he?
Well, Joe Royle was the manager for many years there.
But was it not Paul Dickoff that got the win against Liverpool?
Was it? I'm not
No?
sure. Was it?
Oh, well, do you
Did
remember
we
when
talk to him
when we
about
talked
it?
to him about it?
Yeah, I think
was
we
it not
talked to him.
Oldham that beat Liverpool in the FA Cup?
Well, they did one occasion,
Yeah, I think he was the manager.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
But
good
it
for him.
reminds me of the guy that used to work for the Daily Star,
Yes.
who was known as Biffo.
Biffo.
And Biffo, of course, was an acronym for
He was, yeah.
big idiotic something from Oldham.
Big, idiotic, friendless fellow from Oldham.
Something
That's
like
why it's
that.
known as Biffo, yeah.
Yeah.
And the 10th worst place living
Coming
in
in
the UK,
10th place,
and this is very, very harsh,
another favourite place of yours,
Blackpool.
Blackpool,
Yeah. I would go.
The Golden Mile.
I would go and live in Blackpool tomorrow. I'd go and live in most British towns
Go on,
because
then.
there's nothing wrong with them.
Well, would you go and live in Oldham?
Yeah, because there's nice parts of Oldham.
Sunderland?
Sunderland, there's nice parts of Sunderland.
Gravesend?
Well, I've never been to Gravesend, so I can't make a judgment on it.
Bradford?
Do you know what? I nearly took a job on the evening newspaper in Bradford once. The
All right, so what's
Bradford-
basically emerging here is that
and-
you would live anywhere in the north of England, apart from Gravesend, which is in the south of England.
Well, that's right. Bradford has got beautiful rolling hills around it, by the way. There's
Yeah.
plenty of nice
Well, the Yorkshire
villages and
Dales.
cottages. Yorkshire Dales, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Right.
Nothing wrong with Rochdale in Lancashire. Nothing wrong with Scunthorpe, because I've been there.
What about Luton?
Nothing really wrong with Luton. The trouble
I
with
would
Luton
never live
is
in Luton.
it's on that sort of M1 corridor, sort of Luton and Milton Keynes.
Well, it's right by the
M25
meets the M1, isn't it?
M25 meets M1. It's also got an airport there, so that involves...
Well, that's the only good thing about Luton. It means you can get away quickly.
Yeah, but there's a lot of sort of airport warehouses around there and all that kind of stuff.
A lot of people around there work for the airlines, I suppose.
They do, yeah, of course they do. That's right, yeah. Hull, I can't see a problem with, and I'm on Adrian's side there. Fine city.
Do you know that they issued some figures recently for how well they're being called, after being called the City of Culture?
Yes.
How well they've done in terms of tourism and how many people have been attracted to visit the city, right?
Right.
And many people who visited the city said that the reason they came there was to visit that blade. That turbine blade.
Yeah, that's right. It was laid out on the town square.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, amazing, yeah. But
I mean, why would you travel all the way to Hull to look at a turbine blade?
Well, I don't know. But, I mean, if they felt that it was something that was going to stimulate people's interest, they did a good job, didn't they?
Well, I suppose they did.
Yeah.
But, I mean, how much taxpayers' money has been put towards it? That was the beginning of the argument we had in the first place. But anyway, we'll come back to that. So if you live in Dover, apparently it's the worst place to live in the UK. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Malachi says this. He says, I went to Phil Collins' gig in Belfast 10 years ago, and he named that tour the first final farewell tour.
Really?
Although he probably wasn't quite as unwell then as he is now.
No, I shouldn't think he was.
Because he's not terribly well.
I shouldn't think he was, no.
Carl says this. So the top 10 worst places to live is basically a tour of League One. Welcome to the world of being a League One club fan.
Well, that's right.
Which is dreadful, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it is basically that, isn't it? All those teams have something in common, that is that they don't have a Premier League football team. Yeah. Especially as Sunderland have now slipped out.
Jim says, pretty sound business decision by Blondie to tour with Debbie Harry. I think he's being slightly facetious
Yes,
there.
I think it is as well.
And a good one here from Stephen, the guy that was asking for me to make an apology earlier.
Yeah.
He said, actually, on reflection, you're right, MG, they look nothing like each other. Sorry, Porky's a plank.
Oh, hang on. Why has he suddenly become a turncoat?
Well, because he's obviously looked at the pictures again and realised that I was right and you were wrong.
Well, the man's a numpty for sending in the first tweet saying, yeah, they look identical. Thank you very much indeed. Huh?
Well, I mean, I can't be responsible for the people who at first glance side with you, but then on reflection realised that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Why have you been quiet?
Well, because I thought you were going to say something else there. You know,
really?
Something rather offensive. Yeah.
Not at all, no.
No.
Why would I say something offensive?
Because you always do.
I hardly ever say anything offensive to you. Hardly ever.
Right. Now then, what I wanted to talk to you about a little bit more was something you mentioned earlier, because it's so fascinating.
Yes.
And that is that Mel B blew her entire £40 million Spice Girls fortune on extravagant living.
Well, how can you spend that much money?
I don't know.
I mean, I really find that impossible to imagine.
Yeah.
Because, you know, yes, you can go and buy a house. I mean, I suppose you could go and spend it all in one fell swoop on some ridiculously expensive house.
Yeah.
But it just seems to me that, I mean, I would struggle to spend 50 million quid, and I'm quite good at spending money.
You know that one of the Williams sisters, and I always get them mixed up, so I'm sorry, but
Serena's the pregnant one.
Serena's the pregnant one, right? Now, Serena has just done a replica of the very famous picture Annie Leibovitz did of Demi Moore.
That's right. On the cover of Vanity Fair.
Cover of the Vanity Fair. Was it 20 years ago?
No, it was probably more than that. Probably late 80s,
yeah,
early 90s.
I think it was. And it showed Demi Moore clutching her baby bum without any clothes on. It's a classic picture.
From the side.
From the side, that's right. Taken by Annie Leibovitz. And that's just been replicated by Serena Williams, and taken again by Annie Leibovitz.
Yes.
But the reason I was bringing you back to Mel B on that
she went bankrupt, didn't she?
To the tune of about $230 million.
Right.
It was amazing. I mean, she was a fantastic celebrity photographer.
Yeah.
Everybody in the world wanted Annie Leibovitz.
Wasn't the problem that she started living like the celebrities that she was photographing?
Well, a bit of that. She brought a load of property and all that kind of stuff. But then all of a sudden, she was mortgaging her entire picture collection.
Yeah.
You know, for hundreds of millions of dollars to people, and then nobody knows where this money was going. But also,
she started doing the sort of thing that you only do if you've lost the plot, which is she started flying around in private jets everywhere, right?
That's right.
Because she obviously quite enjoyed it.
Yes.
It's a bit like, I mean, two things have happened to me this year.
Yes.
Which might have completely changed the way that I decided to get around. One, we got invited very kindly by Sir Rod Stewart to fly in his private jet.
That's right.
Up to Glasgow. Now, no question, was that the greatest way to get anywhere?
Absolutely.
And if I was to go completely bonkers mad, I would say, right, from now on, whenever I go anywhere, I'm going to go in a private jet.
Yeah,
even though I can't afford it.
I agree with you.
Same with the bike ride the other day when we came in from Sky.
Yes, that's right.
What a tremendous way to get through London traffic.
That's right.
I would do that all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it was. It was probably quite a lot of money.
It was £100 each.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
So Well, it's not absolutely outlandish,
not
but quite a lot.
money.
But if you suddenly decided, right, that's how I'm going to get around all the time, I would soon be bankrupt.
Yeah, well, you'd have your own bike waiting outside all the time, wouldn't you?
Well,
right, let's go.
And you get carried away. It's a bit like when you're in newspapers and you're the editor and you have a chauffeur to take you everywhere.
Yeah.
But once you're no longer doing that, you can't kind of justify it.
I'll tell you a story about that, about the chauffeur and all that, right? I mean, your ambition when you wanted to become a Fleet Street editor was get that Jaguar with the chauffeur, you know what I mean? Because then, because of parking in London, he's so hopeless.
Yeah.
Not kind of,
well, you never had to worry about it.
Never have to worry about it. Just ferry you around all over the place, and if you fancied one of the young reporters and you invited her for a ride in the back of the chauffeur, you know, all that kind
ride
of
in the back of the chauffeur?
Yeah. Sorry, ride in the back of the car, the chauffeur-driven car. Yeah, that's right, absolutely.
You've led a very disgraceful life, really.
Well, that's what they used to do, didn't they? The editors had a chauffeur-driven car, and it was always, would you like a lift home? You know, all that kind of stuff.
No, some of them did that.
Some of them did that, but not
all. You can't tar them all.
But anyway, what I thought was absolutely amusing is how you play the Fleet Street game, because a former colleague of yours and mine, he rose to high office in a newspaper.
Yeah.
And he was given the chauffeur-driven Jag, you know, so which he could jump in at every lunchtime.
Yeah.
And get around town, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, because he decided to set a new moral code, goes in to see the chief executive and he says, because I'm so dedicated to this job. And this was a Sunday newspaper, by the way. And, that you need a chauffeur-driven Jag more than ever, because all you can do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday is go lunching with cabinet ministers and all that kind of stuff. You know, there's nothing else to do. So he goes to the show, he said, look, I'm setting a new moral code here. I am prepared to give up the chauffeur-driven Jaguar, which is allocated to me in my job specification for another reporter.
Yes.
He says, I've worked out the cost is about the same. I don't know what it was, 60 grand a year or something like that, 50 grand a year or something like that. And I will give it up if you give me And the chief executive said, well, that's very noble indeed. And I tell you what, I can help you with that. We'll do that.
Right.
So then he suddenly literally picks up on the phone and say, cancel the Jag and tell Bob I'm afraid he's out of work, the driver. So they loses the car, loses the driver.
Yeah.
6 months later, of course, now then, staff review.
Yeah.
They laid off his new reporter.
Last one in, first one out.
I'm afraid,
Never give up anything that you've supposedly got.
Absolutely.
And that was what happened to Rosie Boycott as well, because she gave up the...
but she did it on a matter of principle.
No, she said, I don't need an editor's car. So when she got fired, the new editor comes in.
That's right, no car.
He said, where's my car? They went, no, you don't get one.
These pictures from the messy wedding are very glamorous, aren't they? Eh?
Very glamorous event.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Superb. We'll have to find out if Tim Vickery got an invite.
Yeah, that's right.
He may not have done. However, it's now time for this. It's now 17-9 to me, by the way.
Is it?
I've just been told.
Is it?
You've got a chance to catch up, though.
Yeah, okay.
Are you ready with a 1 minute moan?
Yeah, but I'm going to let you go first.
You can let me go first,
yes,
okay.
Yes.
Are you going to fire up the starting gun?
I certainly am. Maestro, 3, 2, 1, clock.
My moan today is all about the ridiculously outlandish and expensive prices of visiting the vet. Now, I know that you don't have any pets, although I don't know if you're going to now adopt that pet snail that you found in your roof garden this morning.
Yeah.
But I, as you know, have quite a rather large Labrador dog, which
dog.
occasionally has to go to the vets for various reasons.
Right.
Sometimes to get his ears sorted out.
Yes.
Sometimes to get his paws sorted out.
Yes.
Sometimes to get himself wormed.
Yes.
Sometimes just a general, sort of once-over because he's got a bit of dog flu or something like that.
Yeah.
But the amount of money that you have to pay for, dog medicine is absolutely outrageous. Now, it turns out that vets are ripping off pet lovers with markups as high as 167%.
Really?
According to a report that I've seen this morning, right?
Yes.
Pet owners spend a record £7.16 billion on going to the vets and buying medicine.
Yes.
Now, apparently most of this medicine is available online for a much smaller amount of money.
Is that
if
right?
you've got enough smarts about you, you have to go online and you can actually buy the same drugs for something like £15 that they will charge you £67 for at the vets.
Right.
Shocking.
Okay.
That's my moan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you think that's substantial? Or?
I think so. A lot of people who have animals will, I think, will sympathise with that.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Are you ready to go with yours?
I'm ready to go.
3, 2, 1, clock.
Right, now, why do we still have 1p and 2p coins? That's what I want to know. All they do is fill up your pockets. They cause holes in your pockets. They make your fingers dirty because they're made of, like a brass type thing, not silver type thing. They're the only ones that are made of brass, and they make my fingers very dirty. And I hate handling them. Whenever I do, I have to go and wash my hands. They are completely unnecessary in the British economy. We do not need a 1p coin because the old idea of selling everything for £4.99 or £5.99 is now very outdated.
Not really.
And all prices should be levelled off to the nearest pound. They have to be. There has to be a law introduced. The 99p is rubbish. That's the only reason why we've still got a 1p. The 2p is equally rubbish because 2p is twice what 1p is.
Well, get rid of the 5 as well.
That's made of silver. That's still perfectly acceptable. So is the 10. So is the 50p. But we must get rid of the 1 and 2p coins. Another reason is they're extremely expensive to produce. They weigh more than the silver coins and therefore damage machines, and we must get rid of them immediately for the sake of the British economy.
OK, well, I don't understand why you want to do that, but man of the people that you are, I'm surprised you even have such bother with such trifles as 1 and 2
Well, most people I
pieces.
know, and I do this regularly, as soon as I get a handful of copper coins, I throw them in the bin. I don't want to carry them around with me.
In the bin?
Yeah, I don't.
Why don't you put them in a charity box at whichever outlet you're in?
They don't want them.
Yes, they do.
I promise you, they don't want
them.
Yes, they do. They say,
you know why? Because you can take them to your local supermarket, put them into a machine.
Yeah, you can.
And you can actually get tokens for them.
Yeah, but you see, this is damaging the economy.
Why?
People who are traipsing off down to a supermarket have to get on a bus or get in a car and go there and pour them onto the machine. It's rubbish.
No.
Get rid of 1p and 2p coins, especially the 1p.
Easy for you to say.
No.
You might as well get rid of all coins apart from pounds.
No. Well, one of these days it will be that.
And just
in fact, we'll have a
coins.
cashless society so soon that it doesn't matter.
Cashless?
Get rid of the 1p's and 2p's now. Melt them all down, right, and then you'll have some value in the metal there to do something with it to help the country.
What would you do with the metal?
What would you do with it? You could use it in all sorts of building projects,
Uh-huh.
OK?
Right.
Yeah, local authority building projects, yes.
Yeah, because they're so good at those local authority building projects in this country, aren't they?
Absolutely.
The less said about that, the better. TalkSport, we are the two mics. Unbelievably, by the way, the Everton supporting producer has once again awarded you with the win.
Well, of course,
even though people are all agreeing with me, saying it's absolutely outrageous how much these vets are charging for the furry friends to be paid for. Well, bang on, Mr. Graham. It cost me £2,000 in vet bills since September, and last month another £90 to put my dog to sleep. Says Glenn.
Yeah, but hang on. Isn't it laughable that all these people who want pets and say they're animal lovers and all that then start moaning about the cost of keeping their pets healthy?
Oh, no, it's not about that.
I think it's a disgrace.
No, it's not about that. What you didn't listen to, of course, was what I actually said, because you don't ever listen to anything I say. A 167% markup on the amount of money that you charge people for medicine is wrong. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, could I tell you this? As I have to cling on to life with a series of tablets and medicines,
which you get for free.
Every month.
Which you get for free.
That prescriptions and drugs for humans are much more expensive than they are for dogs. If you've got a dog...
They're not, actually.
If you've got a dog,
they're not. That's wrong. You are completely in denial there, because what happens in the real world, right, many people get prescriptions for free. And you're probably one of them. On account of your great age.
No, I'm not going into that.
You can't get a free prescriction for a dog.
Well, I'm sorry, but if you have a dog, then you must pay for it to stay healthy and have a good life. And to moan about the cost of keeping a dog just shows the hypocrisy. That's not what I was moaning about. The hypocrisy of a lot of pet owners like you.
That's not what I was moaning about.
I mean, what do you think? Do you think the state should subsidise the tablets that your dog needs because you want a dog?
You're the one that's cost the NHS and the great British public about £4 million because you're in hospital for 9 months because of your ridiculously unfit lifestyle, which caused you to have a heart disease. Right? No. You want us to have to then ask you for subsidy? I think that wouldn't be a bad thing. However, we're not getting subsidised by the government. We're not asking for subsidies from the government.
No.
All I'm saying is that the profiteering that is done by some of these vet companies is entirely wrong.
Well, I'm sorry, but I mean, if you have a dog, you've got to pay for it. And my particular topic, getting rid of 2p and particularly 1p coins, has met with all-round approval.
No, it hasn't.
Because nobody wants to be scrabbling around in the newsagents for
the only people,
1p change.
The only person that's actually commented on is Jim, who says 1p coin rage. Porky's finally lost it.
No, I haven't.
#plank.
I think you'll find I've touched a raw nerve there with quite a lot of people.
MG Win says, Charles, goals. MG Win says, Jack, make that 18-9.
Hang on.
In fact, it's actually 17-10 now.
Hang on, Billy says, I agree with Mike Parry entirely. Get rid of 1p and 2p coins and instead let's have a 99p coin. I think Billy's taking the mickey. But you get the drift. Everybody's supporting me.
How about this one from Terry, who's a Sunderland fan?
Yeah.
Dear Porky, South Shields is the best town in the North East, and you're the best presenter on the radio. I can listen to you all day.
That's very
You
kind.
make my day every time you're on.
Yeah, thank you very
Your
much
mate
indeed.
is okay as well.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's very nice. Thank you very much indeed.
Terry, you should have heard what you were saying about Sunderland earlier.
No, I wasn't saying. I said Sunderland's a great place. Gaz says, I'm totally in agreement with Porky this time. Good moan, both of you, but Porky just got it. Thank you very much indeed. Okay?
How about this one from Jason?
Yeah.
Barry Norman has died, R.I.P., which
Yeah.
is very sad. He used to
It is,
present the movie show.
Mm.
But apparently the Mail Online's got a picture of Barry Cryer.
Yeah. Oh, have they?
Yeah.
Oh, blimey. These things are easily done. They're easily done. You know, the worst one that happened was Sir Philip Carter,
Yeah.
who was once the chairman of Everton and a great man. He did an awful lot for Everton. He steered us through our 80s successes and all that kind of stuff. Don't mention the 80s, but he died.
I thought it was just the 70s you weren't mentioning.
Well, 70s and 80s. But sadly, he died a few years ago, and I used to meet him in the boardroom all the time. He was a great guy. He was still, I think he was life president of the club.
Yeah.
But the problem was a few years before Sir Philip died, another chap called Phil Carter, who was a very successful businessman, he ran an amazing business, Mike. He had mechanics all over the continent who used to race to the aid of broken down lorries and this kind of stuff.
How is this a story about Barry Norman dying?
Well, I'm going to tell you now.
Because we've got to talk to Owen Slot in a minute.
We're going to. Phil Carter, the guy I'm talking about, died in a helicopter crash coming back from a Chelsea game. He was a Chelsea fan.
Yeah.
And as he died...
He was with the guy from Chelsea, obviously.
No, he wasn't. No, that was a different guy. And sadly, he was with his teenage son, and they both perished in the helicopter crash. Terribly tragic.
Right.
But the following day, some news organisations got him mixed up with Sir Philip Carter at Everton and declared Sir Philip Carter to have died, which he hadn't. So these things are easily done, I'm afraid.
Well, hopefully not easily done.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they'll correct that. Anyway, let's go down under now and find out just how the win by the Lions is being accepted.
Indeed.
The British and Irish Lions Tour of New Zealand 2017 on Talk Sport. On location with The Times and The Sunday Times. Quality coverage of the entire Lions Tour from expert writers and ex-players.
The British and Irish Lions, of course, got a win this morning against the All Blacks. Here to dissect their performance in the second test is Owen Slot, Chief Rugby Correspondent from The Times. Owen, well, that was a bit better, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was magnificent. It was almost as good as your conversation about vet prices. Which
Thank you.
Joined us now.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I'm glad you agree with me, as most normal people do. But but let's talk about.
I can't work out which side I'm on, but I'm certainly on the Lions side at the moment.
Exactly.
Very good. And I guess everyone's on Sam Warburton's side as well, because despite what we heard before the first test that he hadn't really played enough rugby and he wasn't quite ready, he certainly seems to be.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a bit of an ugly win, and it was certainly an unconvincing win. But the point regarding Sam Warburton and really all the sort of marginal calls that the coaches made came good today. It was a real day for the success of the coaches and the coaches' selection. I was one of the many people who voiced their doubt about the 10-12 combination he picked with Farrell and Sexton. I didn't think it was the right one, and it worked pretty well today. Sam Warburton was outstanding today. We mustn't get carried away with the Lions' performance. They won largely because the All Blacks went down to 14 men. The Sonny Bill Williams was sent off. But it's very exciting. It was really exciting today. And it's magnificent that this series is now 1-1 and going on to a final rubber decider next weekend.
Yeah, and of course, psychologically, we've got it now, haven't we, Owen? Because, you know, if we'd have lost the first and... if we'd have won the first and lost the second, we would now feel like we were beaten. But now we feel like we're winners.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, the fact is, yes, the Lions are on a roll, that's for sure.
Exactly.
The fact is that the All Blacks had a man sent off after 25 minutes. So they can sit on this defeat and go, well, we know why it happened, or that won't happen again. Incidentally, that's the first time an All Black's been sent off for 50 years. So it probably won't happen again.
No.
So they'll have a bit of psychological kind of, well, we weren't beaten by it. It wasn't our full team beaten. It wasn't. They can say it wasn't a proper victory or whatever. But on the other side, the Lions won this game, and actually they played quite badly, but a lot of the game. So they can sit on this and go, hang on a sec, we're 1-1 now, and we haven't really played a good, put in a good performance yet. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is pretty exciting. And Sonny Bill Williams, as you say, getting sent off, very, very rare at the All Blacks that would have something. Is there going to be some kind of backlash? You know how seriously the All Blacks fans take the whole idea of the All Blacks, and that, you know, it's all about the team, it's all about the honour of wearing the shirt. Yeah. I mean, he's kind of made a bit of a blunder here because he's going to miss the final test as well.
Well, they missed the final test, and it will be interesting to see what the reaction to him is, because even though he's this sort of iconic global sportsman, he's one of the best known names in rugby. Here in New Zealand, they're not really sure what to make of him, because, as you say, it's all about the All Blacks here. But Sonny Bill's a player who's been in the All Blacks, then went, I'm going to go off and play rugby league. Then he came back, got a World Cup winners medal, then said, I don't need to be an All Black anymore, I'll go and play rugby league. And then he said, I'm going to go be a heavyweight boxer, and he did boxing. So the Kiwis aren't entirely sure what to make of him, because for the Kiwis to love you, they want you to be All Black and nothing else. Yeah. And Sonny Bill isn't, and now he's been sent off. So it'd be interesting to see what the reaction is.
Yeah, I mean, for the fans of the Kiwis, they must be devastated, because it's not just that. I know you say they've got a bit of capital in the bank because it was only a 14-man team, but they must be utterly devastated here, even at the prospect of the Lions taking this series. They thought it would all be over.
Yeah, they did. You know, it's really interesting that there have been an increasing number of Kiwis that I've noticed in the last couple of days who have said they don't mind if it goes to 1-1, because they're so used to winning everything and rarely getting a real scare, a really tight game. Yeah, that's what the Lions bring. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a minority of Kiwis, and really all they wanted to do was to triumph again and feel that they were the top dogs in the world.
Well, except they do believe they're unbeatable at Eden Park, don't they?
Well, they haven't been. They still haven't been beaten there since 1994. So they've got that to fall back on. Yeah. The Lions have got a massive
task,
challenge ahead of them. They can't be expected to win. They're still very much the underdogs. Yeah. But hey, what a week!
A couple of quick announcements to make. One from Katrina, who says, can you give my boyfriend Richard Calcer a shout-out and tell him you love him? You sure you don't mean you want us to tell him that you love him, Katrina?
Yeah, Katrina...
Because I don't. I mean, I have to say, I don't love Richard.
No, Katrina, I'm sure you love your boyfriend Richard. Yeah. And we are very happy to endorse that.
Give him a wave.
Yes, indeed.
Here's this one from Steve. Any chance of a shout-out for my dad's birthday? He turns 80 today. His name is Harry, and his motto is everything in moderation.
Right, Harry, 80, everything in moderation. Have a great day, my boy, and give us a shout on your 90th, will you? And we'll give you another shout-out then.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. There was somebody who contacted me this morning, age 43.
Oh, yeah.
Who might be called Howard.
Howard?
Yeah, or Harold.
Harold.
But I can't quite remember.
Well, that last one was Harold.
Okay. Well, it
wasn't that one.
Might have been. No, it wasn't. Well, no, there's a bit of difference between 43 and 80. Difference of 37 years,
I know, but
actually.
you could have got the numbers wrong.
No. There was a Howard or there was somebody knocking around anyway this morning, age 43. I'm sorry, I seem to have lost the note now because we get such bundles of information. Yeah. But anyway, you know who you are, and a very happy birthday. 43 is a great age.
It is. Have you seen Ruth Davidson's out-of-office message, by the way?
No, what is it?
She's taken a bit of flack for it because Ruth Davidson has sent this picture out, right, of Gillian Anderson, looking rather sexual, with her stockings on.
Sorry, who's that person?
That's Gillian Anderson.
Gillian Anderson, the actress
from the X-Files.
Well, that's what she's paid to do. She's an actress.
Yeah, but this has been an out-of-office message left by Ruth Davidson, who's of course the leader of the Tory party in Scotland.
Yes.
She says, right, I'm off for a fortnight. In the meantime, here's Gillian Anderson just sitting around the house in stilettos and seamed stockings, as you do.
Yes.
People are saying it's a bit politician-like.
Is that in her house?
Well, I don't think she's in her house.
No, Gillian Anderson visited Ruth Davidson's house.
I don't think so.
So this is a bit of tongue-in-cheek sort of frivolity.
Well, I think Ruth Davidson fancies her. I think that's the point.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you don't know that. I mean, that's...
Well, I think that's why she's done it.
Well, but I think Ruth Davidson has a partner in life as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think you should be suggesting things like...
Well, you can't imagine Theresa May doing that, can you?
You can't really. No, I totally
agree. Are you saying you think it's all right?
I'm not saying it's all right, but I mean, what I'm saying is I don't think
you're struggling with this one, aren't you?
No, I don't think you should be interpreting it. Ruth Davidson knows what she means, and I don't think you should interpret it for her.
What do you think she means then?
Well, I think she means that, some people have a loose sort of lifestyle and sit around in these sort of things, but not me. I'm going on holiday.
Yeah, it makes no sense at all.
None of it makes sense.
Let's talk to Rupert Bell, who always
Indeed.
makes sense. Rupert, a very good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, Mike. Afternoon, the other Mike, who's on fire today.
Yeah, Porky's clearly not quite sure what's going on with this Gillian Anderson
I'm absolutely sure what's going
on. Now, it's hard to believe when you look out the window that we're only a couple of days away from Wimbledon fortnight. Normally, it doesn't start getting this miserable and drab until about halfway through the first week.
Well, I don't know what it's... Well, where I am, it's lovely. I haven't moved down to Wimbledon yet. So London's all dreek, is it?
It's very dreek, yeah, and cold.
Cold. Yeah. Well, as long as Andy Murray's got time to put some heat on his hip,
yes.
That's the ultimate story, I suppose. And Johanna Konta can sort her back out because that fall she had...
That was awful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, she bashed her head, but she did her spine in the process. Now, fingers crossed, because she's been playing really well. She's seeded 6, so hopefully she can be fit enough to play whenever her first round match is. But for Andy Murray, I think the draw's been kind to him because he's got a lucky loser, ranked 130 odd in the world. So fingers crossed, his hip will improve, my voice will improve, and all will be well with the world.
All will be well with the world.
What is wrong with your voice, actually? Because I heard Mr. Brazil asking you the other day if you were feeling all right, and we were all wondering if it was as a result of Royal Ascot, and whether it was taking a bit out of you.
Well, I think I've just got a bit of man flu, probably.
Bit of man flu. Okay. Well, you'll get over that, Root, because you are a man, and you will conquer it. Now, Root, one issue which people are frightened to talk about is...
Does that mean if you get bird flu, if you're a bird, you'll get over it because you're a bird?
Yeah, of course you'll get over it. Of course you will. Now, one issue, Root, that people are frightened to talk about, but I'm not, is that one of the reasons why everybody's so nervous about Andy Murray not making Wimbledon is the enormous commercial benefit Andy Murray brings to Wimbledon the longer he stays in the competition. So, that is a business proposition, but it's a very serious one, isn't it?
Well, I mean, of TV ratings, everything.
You all right there, Roo? You okay?
Yeah. Well, it's the commercial considerations that you're throwing at me.
Call for the nurse.
Well, I think what the problem is, Andy Murray, whatever he does, will bring a huge X factor. But this year, it doesn't matter because Federer and Nadal are also capable of producing the X factor.
Roof, I'm getting worried about you, my boy.
I'm all right, don't worry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I am, honestly. I don't want you to do your voice in the head of Wimbledon.
No, that's true, actually, yeah. That's true. Well, should we ask him to step down?
Stand him down.
No, all right, then. Well, Porky, see, it's the sort of thing that Rupert would be quite happy to carry on.
No, it's my compassion for a man with struggling with a voice.
No, you just want him to get rid of him so you can talk more.
No, I don't. Don't be ridiculous. I love having Roop on. Roop's a great guy. Yeah. He's so multi-talented in terms of the things he knows about.
I thought you mean going down the old Henry regatta, actually, today, but he's not.
Yeah, I thought he might be as well, yeah. Perhaps there's a bit of that as well.
There, it could be.
Right, OK, so poor old Roop. But he'll get better, don't worry, because he's a battler.
He sounded fine to me.
He's a former British Army officer, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
So people like that, they have mettle.
Yeah, they do.
You know what
I don't know why he wanted him to get rid of him. It's a shocking thing to do.
Don't get rid of him. What are you on about? I mean, poor old Roop was struggling there.
No, I don't think so.
I didn't think it was
you
fair.
struggle every day, but you carry on.
Yes, but I mean, I battle against adversity, if you mean that. Yes, I'll accept that.
Tony says MG should definitely have won the 1 minute moan. Porky doesn't have a pet and it shows.
Of course I don't have a pet because I've had a pet who would look after it during the day. That's not an issue at all.
Really?
I've told you about the disaster that hit the family many, many years ago, but we're not talking about that because it was in the past.
Yeah.
Right, now then.
Stephen says Rupert's obviously over-bladderated celebrating over the last few days since his brother won the Gold Cup.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, he could have been, but I mean... this is a rather strange one.
What's that?
It's here from Paul.
Yeah.
MG in top form today, Porky struggling to keep up.
Yeah, well, I think it was your reaction to the Gillian Anderson picture that finally sort of sent it all over the edge.
Well, I thought it was a bit mischievous of you to start talking about those things and trying to, double think why people put messages out on Twitter. They put them out to stimulate conversation. That's fine.
All right, let me put this to you. Maybe you can understand this slightly easier.
Okay.
If, for example, Jeremy Corbyn had put out a picture of, Pamela Anderson,
yes,
with her stockings on and her feet on a bed,
yes,
saying, I'm off on holiday for a couple of weeks, but here's a nice picture of Pamela Anderson to have a look at. What do you think the reaction would have been?
I think he'd been accused of being sexist,
exactly.
I suppose. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's all right for Ruth Davidson.
Well, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying I don't know what the interpretation of it is. So I'm not second guessing her. You know,
right?
She may at some
you're
stage
basically copping out and sitting on the fence.
No, I'm not copping out.
Yeah,
At some stage, somebody might say, "Oh, that was a very newsworthy sort of picture. It's very interesting talking piece."
Well, it's not newsworthy, is it?
Well, it is because you and I are talking about it. And Ruth, why did you put that picture out? Now, she may then reveal that.
Yeah.
Didn't you realise that Gillian Anderson came to Scotland 18 months ago and we had a reception here and it was all great stuff?
No.
It might be something to do with that.
Apparently she's put out pictures of her before.
Oh, is she?
She's a big fan of Gillian Anderson.
Maybe she is. Maybe she's a friend. Maybe she's met her.
No, I don't think so.
Maybe Gillian
I don't
Anderson's
think so.
worked in Scotland on some dramatic production because she's an actress, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah?
So you're making excuses now
I'm not
for
making
Ruth
excuses.
Davidson.
I'm trying
You're
to...
grasping at straws to try desperately not to call a woman a sexist. That's what you're doing.
I am trying to offer explanations for the picture, whereas you have just, gone in with a stiletto.
No, I'm asking questions, and you are refusing to answer them.
No, I'm asking questions as well.
Because you're an arch Tory, you're pretending not to be.
I'm not an arch Tory at all.
Well, you
I'm
obviously
an
are.
arch nothing. I'm not a member of any political party.
Well, why are you defending Ruth Davidson then?
Well, I defend other politicians all the time.
Do you?
You know, and it doesn't matter who they vote for.
You hate politicians normally.
I do dislike the motives of politicians, mostly speaking, and I do think most of them don't do the country any good. Full stop. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about the Tour de France next, shall we?
Tour de France.
Yeah, because it's not so controversial.
Well, that's not even
Might be easier
Tour.
for you.
It's not even Tour in France at the start, is it?
Tour de France is on.
Yeah, of course it is.
It is.
Yeah, I knew that.
This is Talk Sport. I know you did.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Our favourite movie critic is here, Brian Viner from the Daily Mail. I made the mistake of calling him from the Mail on Sunday last time.
Yeah, just get that right.
Which was an appalling mistake on my part. Brian, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome.
How are you guys? Nice to see you.
Hi, Brian.
We're very well
thank
indeed.
you.
Now, Porky's very excited about this new Spider-Man movie, so he's determined to go and see
Yeah.
it. I don't know if you can tell him it's worth watching or not.
I think it's definitely, he will absolutely love it. In fact, I think he'll be climbing into his red and blue onesie as soon as he gets out of the movie.
Yeah.
What a horrible thought.
I think it's a horrible thought. It's great fun. It's great fun. It's part of the so-called Marvel Cinematic Universe. I would say that of the 16 films they've made, it's probably my favourite.
Really?
You know, I've seen some good ones. Yeah, it's great fun. And also, you don't have to have seen the other one. You know, sometimes seeing these Marvel films, you know, depends very much on sort of, you know, having seen all the recent ones, and there's lots of kind of in references and what have you. This one, you can see sort of it's a standalone film, really, to a very large extent. And it's great. And, of course, it has this young British actor, Tom Holland, who's an up-and-coming star, and he's absolutely terrific. Best Spider-Man I've ever seen. It's just great fun.
And I see Robert Downey Jr.'s in it. Is he in it as Iron Man, or is he in it for some other purpose?
Yeah, no, he is. He's in it. He's more in it as Tony Stark, which is, of course, Iron Man Rigo, as you both know. And he is sort of mentor to Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, who's just a 15-year-old schoolboy, and has, is at high school, and he's got all the kind of hormonal adolescent problems that high school kids have. But in his spare time, and when he gets home, he changes into that onesie I was talking about, and goes around busting crimes.
That's right, Brian. What's the age profile of the audience? Because I was talking about it the other day. You know, when we said we must get the world's top TV reviewer, Brian Viner, on the show, and somebody on our staff here, aged I would say in their early 20s, revealed not only are they a great fan of Spider-Man, but they still get the Spider-Man comics, and they go to the Spider-Man conventions and all that kind of stuff. I didn't realise Spider-Man had hit those sort of heights.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, personally speaking, and I'm a little bit older than the sort of person you're talking about, but Spider-Man has always been my favourite superhero. I just think he has sort of touched the parts others haven't reached. And that's what this film does, really. It just sort of, it's a celebration of Spider-Man. And also, so I think the age profile, certainly, I saw it at the Leicester Square Odeon in London the other night, and I would say it was a very wide age profile, really. A lot of people in their 20s, but people somewhat senior to that, like me, and everybody loved it. And there's one Anybody who's seen it will know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but there is one absolutely fantastic twist that you simply do not see coming.
Wow.
And the whole cinema just erupted in applause and cheers when it happened. It
wow.
was just brilliant.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And to a guy like me, ignorant of the Spider-Man films, now Batman had specific enemies, didn't he? The Joker, the Riddler and all that. Superman had specific enemies. You know, what's his name? Luth.
Hey?
Who's
Luther.
Who's Spider-Man's enemy? Superman's enemy.
Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor, that's right.
And Kryptonite.
Yeah.
And so does Spider-Man have an arch enemy?
Well, he not a generic one, I don't think.
Right.
But in this particular film, his ironically or aptly or whatever you want to say, his arch enemy is a character called the Vulture.
The Vulture,
who was played by Michael Keaton, who of course years ago,
was Batman.
Years ago, played Batman. Yeah.
Wow.
And also sometimes there's a bad Spider-Man, isn't there?
Yeah, they can all turn bad at any moment. You never know where you are. It's like being on your show. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, that's absolutely true.
Do you think, this is a slightly more broad question about cinema at the moment, Brian, do you think that these kind of Superman, Batman, Spider-Man sort of comic book type movies are the future, as it were? Because they see, I mean, I only speak as a parent. There's fewer and fewer reasons to go to the cinema because there's so much on TV. The television's getting bigger, the pictures are getting better, the sound's getting better. To go to the cinema where you have to pay sort of £8 a piece to go. That's before you bought all the giant popcorn. Is it dying or what's going on?
I think there's sort of very, very healthy cinema audiences. I don't think it's dying at all. I think there's a proliferation I'm delighted to see. Apart from all the multiplexes, you're getting more and more of these little independents where you can sit on sofas and have a glass of wine. Yeah. That's not like, that's almost like sitting at home. But what you don't get at home is that sort of collective viewing experience that you get in the cinema. And as I was just referring to, the cheers and the applause when there was this twist in Spider-Man, and you don't get that at home. So I think the cinema is in very robust condition and will continue to be. And I personally hope that it doesn't rely too much on superheroes and the big blockbusters, because I think the cinema's got plenty of other stuff to give us. And this week alone, we've got some great movies, actually. Yeah. There's The Baby Driver, which I heartily recommend. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But also a quieter film called Alone in Berlin, set in Nazi Germany, which is almost a sort of doer film, but a very, very nicely done, nicely told. So, there's loads out there.
Brilliant.
Excellent stuff. Great. Well, I mean, I suspect that you might be going a couple of days off. You maybe you'll go to the cinema and check it out.
Is it actually released now, Brian? Is it on general release?
It's out next Wednesday, Mike.
Yeah, right, okay.
Next Wednesday.
Great.
So, highly recommended, really.
Lovely.
All right. Well, Brian, listen, thank you very much indeed. Brian Viner there, film critic from, of course, the Daily Mail. Here's one from Stephen, who says, if Rupert can't do Wimbledon, Porky can step in and him and McEnroe can get 24 cans of special brew and do the commentating.
Well, why not? Could try a bit of that, couldn't we?
Well, I mean, the hard-faced Polish girl will be playing.
Well, will she?
Yeah, I think so.
I think she's retired now.
No, she hasn't.
Has she?
No, she's still playing. Radwanska.
Oh, she's still playing.
She's still in there. A couple of people are sending out pictures of some character dressed as Spider-Man who doesn't look exactly quite as fit as he ought to be, making out that it could be you, but obviously it's not you.
It's not me.
How about this one from somebody who calls himself Walcott Y, which is about the stupidest name I've ever seen on Twitter. And he says, you two planks just had a film critic from the Mail on, and you never asked him about Barry Norman. Dumb and Dumber. Well, why would you do that? And
exactly.
he's also retweeted, and he's also used that picture of the Barry Norman breaking news on Mail Online with the wrong picture.
The picture
of Barry Cryer.
That's shocking, isn't it?
No.
So,
I mean, Walcott White, if you actually had a real Twitter account, it might be worth answering you.
Exactly.
But I think it's worth doing,
it's
really.
not, no. Listen, talking about films, right, I want to talk to you about a film that's coming out soon. It's a fantastically sports-based film. So historic and all that. It stars Sam Neill.
Yes.
And Sam Neill, of course, was the tough cop in Peaky Blinders.
The Irish guy, yes.
A brilliant actor.
Horrible character. really.
Well,
wasn't he?
The character, but I mean, terrific actor and all that kind of stuff. And this film is called. It's about two legendary golfers, right?
Yeah.
Called Old Tom and Young Tom, Tommy Morris, and Tom Morris, right?
Yes.
And they were an absolutely legendary. It's called Tommy's Honour, by the way. It's out on Friday, and they invented St Andrews Golf Club and the Open. Okay.
Yes.
Because Tommy was the first prodigy, the Tiger Woods of his day. He stood up to the rich snobs who ran the game and turned it into the spectator sport that's loved by millions. Now, this is Tom Jr., okay?
Yes.
The Scottish player became so popular he was the first to be paid on appearance fee, paving the way for today's professionals. It was a far cry from the experience of his father, Tommy, who was also a talented player.
Old Tom, yeah.
Old Tom, that's right, absolutely right, who had to bow and scrape to gentlemen golfers and was banned from the clubhouse even if he was playing on the course.
Well, do you know, there was a guy called Henry Cotton, who you may or may not have heard of.
I do, the great English golfer.
Great English golfer. When my dad used to tell me, he used to know him quite well.
Right.
And he would come to Royal Mid Surrey, which is the golf club we were in.
Yes.
And he used to have to get changed in the car park.
Why?
Because he wasn't professional. He wasn't allowed in the clubhouse.
And he wasn't a member?
He wasn't. No, he couldn't be a member because he was a professional who was considered to be, sort of lowest of the low. And even though he started to become quite successful and win quite a lot of money, he was never allowed into the clubhouse.
Sorry, because he was a professional.
Yes.
I see. And they were anathema in the game in those days, weren't they?
Well, not anathema, but just considered to be kind of a tradesman.
Yes, I see.
But apparently what he used to do after a while, he had a Rolls Royce, right?
Yeah.
And he would drive down there and he would have his caddy open up the Rolls Royce and he would sit in the car park drinking champagne and getting ready to play.
Yeah.
And just kind of sticking two fingers up to everybody at the club.
Absolutely. But anyway, Tommy won the Open Championship. That's senior.
Yeah.
Golf's first great tournament 4 times in a row, but his promising career was cruelly... this is Tom Jr. Right, Tom Jr. won the Open Championship, golf's first great tournament 4 times in a row, but his promising career was cruelly cut short. This is a tragic story, honestly, really tragic story. Cruelly cut short after his wife and baby died in childbirth while he was playing a match.
Right.
His father, that's Old Tom.
Old Tom, who designed an awful lot of golf courses as
well.
He
did design an awful lot of golf courses, including St Andrews.
Yeah.
His father kept the news quiet until Tommy finished his round. So he didn't make it home in time to see his wife and child before they jointly died in childbirth.
Yeah.
Tommy was so distraught he turned to alcohol, but was persuaded to play a marathon match in a blizzard 3 months later. It was all too much. He's thought to have got pneumonia and died several weeks later in December 1875, aged 24.
Blimey.
And by that age, he'd already won the Open in 4 successive years.
Yeah.
The only man ever to have done so.
Yes.
I mean, this film, by the way, is directed by Jason Connery, the son of James Bond star Sean Connery, who's obviously had a huge connection with golf in Scotland, hasn't he, over the years?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's just a fantastic story. Absolutely fantastic story.
And also, I think their sort of relationship was rather strange anyway. But, I mean, without old Tom Morris, you wouldn't have St Andrews as a golf course. You know, he did Carnoustie, he did Muirfield, he did Prestwick.
Yes.
I mean, all of the great Scottish links courses
have
in some way or other old Tom Morris to thank for their existence.
You're absolutely right. A Scottish newspaper at the time reported Master Morris, that's young Tom, seems to have been both born and bred to golf. He plays with all the fastness and certainty of his father. Tom and Tommy both won the Open Championship 4 times each. Tom is still the oldest winner after his 1867 victory, aged 46. The following year, young Tom took over, known as Tommy, and he became the youngest, aged just 17. Tommy is the only player to win 4 consecutive tournaments in 1868, 69, 70 and 72. There was no contest in 1871 as Tommy had earned the right to keep the prize.
Yeah.
And therefore they hadn't come up with the claret jug to replace the brilliant red belt that he won on that occasion.
No, quite. Exactly. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
What a brilliant story.
Sounds like a great story to make into a movie.
It has been made into a movie.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It sounds like a great story to make into a movie. So is it out very soon then?
It's out on Friday and it's called Tommy's Honour. Now, honouring the heroes, golfer Tom Watson, there's a picture of him here, goes to the graves of Tom and Tommy Morris at St Andrews Cathedral, a tradition upheld by players before the Open Championship. They still do it to this day because they are seen to be the fathers of golf. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But the amazing thing is, you know the great course nearest to me, Mike, Walton Heath?
Yes.
There's a town nearby called Walton on the Hill, which is obviously where the name comes from, obviously. Now, I was walking round there one time, in my sort of heyday of walking and all that kind of stuff.
In your heyday of walking?
Yes, that's right.
Is that how you describe it?
Well, it's been curtailed by the sciatica, which I haven't moaned about today at all because I don't wish to bore people.
I thought
to death,
you said it was on the mend.
It's sort of on the mend. Right. Sort of on the mend. But anyway, I walked past this corner cottage and I looked up and there was an image above the door. And it actually said this was where both Toms stayed when they came down to Walton Heath and played some particular event. I don't know which event it was. I don't know if there was a Ryder Cup around in those days.
Did they not have something to do with a bit of design of Walton Heath as well?
I think they did. I think maybe they did. And they had to stay for several weeks or months or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's this corner house and it says this is where Old Tom and Young Tom stayed, you know.
Yeah.
And then if I show you a picture of them, I mean, you couldn't get two more traditional men of Scottish descent from the 1860s, 70s. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
Magnificent.
Yeah, absolutely. With the old wooden shafted clubs.
Yeah, the wooden shafted clubs. And that'll be a film to go and see.
The mashy niblicks and all that kind of
that's
thing.
Right,
they used to have these weird names. They weren't called 7 irons and 8 irons.
That's right. The autopsy into young Tom's death showed that he died of a pulmonary embolism, which is a blocked vessel in the lung.
Yeah.
He drank more and more after he lost Margaret and a baby, which they think contributed to his death, you know. And the epic match through the blizzard probably weakened him as well.
Yeah.
It was all a very sad story at the end. Today, Tommy's Red Championship belt is kept in the same glass trophy case as the Claret Jug at St Andrew's Golf Club, whose captain, Alexander Boothby, is played by New Zealand actor Sam Neill.
Sam Neill.
Isn't that great?
So he used to get a belt for winning the Open.
He used to get a red belt until Old Tom won it so many times, he got to keep it, like Brazil did the World Cup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you are.
Yeah.
Fascinating
He won it 4 times.
Yeah. Now, you do realise that there was a Euro Millions jackpot at stake this week, don't you?
Is there? Well, that was last night.
Yeah.
Because
Did
that's
you not
Friday
buy a
night.
ticket?
No.
You normally do.
No, I don't. I buy the the national lottery.
Well,
ticket.
somebody in this country's won 87 million quid.
No.
87 million.
Really?
I knew that would upset you. I just wanted to drop this in before the end of the show.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot. Yeah.
The winning balls were 17, 35, 39, 47.
47,
There's
that
that number again.
Yeah.
50, and the lucky star 6 and 8.
See, none of those registered with me except the last one, 8, Alan Ball's number. But none of the others mean anything to me.
How about this?
So
Look,
I wouldn't have won it.
The person who wins this money, who is in Britain, right? It's the 7th biggest ever lottery jackpot win in the UK.
Yeah.
Will be worth more than Daniel Radcliffe or Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran, eh? Yeah.
But less than Adele.
Less than Adele.
Who's worth 125 million.
And we've had to call off our last 2
well, she was meant to be playing at Wembley tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because she's damaged her vocal cords.
That's right, yeah.
Doesn't that sound a bit careless to you?
Well, it's not her fault. I mean...
Well, hang on. She's a singer.
Yes.
Right? So the most important part of her act is her vocal cords.
That's right.
I mean, rather like Rupert Bell,
Yeah.
who is supposed to commentate on Wimbledon next week.
That's right, yeah.
Who's damaged his voice in some way. It's a bit careless, isn't it?
Well, if a boxer comes out of a ring and then he's carrying an injury, he can't get back in the ring. And clearly, she's had a fantastic concert somewhere. She's one of the world's most popular performers, and she's picked up an injury. You do in the course of your work.
Well, I mean, I don't know how she picked up the injury to her vocal cords, but surely you would. I mean, as a boxer, for example, I mean, you're actually somebody's in a ring with you hitting you.
Yes.
You know, she's not in a ring with somebody getting hit.
No, I agree.
She's singing.
I agree. But then again, a boxer could come out of the ring with a dodgy knee because he had to dance around and he did his, his cruciate or something like that.
True.
What I'm saying is...
I don't think it's an analogy you can make.
It is, because there are collateral injuries to every part of your body, depending what you're doing.
I see.
And if she's singing at a high note, how do you know she didn't strain a vocal cord or something like that?
Steve the cabbie.
So I think you're very unforgiving today.
I'm not unforgiving.
Very unforgiving.
No,
yeah,
not at all.
Yeah, you are.
Not unforgiving.
Yeah.
Also, somebody says that you've stolen that rant about the 1 penny and the 2 penny from the papers today.
No, I haven't.
Are you sure that wasn't in the papers?
I've no idea. I've not seen it in the papers.
Really?
And I read newspapers on the same basis every day. Nobody has... nobody has come up with the idea of getting rid of the 1p and the 2p at all. So I'm not going to be accused of that.
Glenn includes a picture of the said paper. Porky's rant was in today's paper. Stewart's inquiry must be held on the results.
Not at all. Not at all.
And here it is, in fact, just coming up on my information device.
Is it? Yeah, okay.
In which it says...
So it says that national campaign to ban 1p and 2p coins, does it?
No, it says 1 and 2p coins came within weeks of being completely scrapped. George Osborne, the ex-Chancellor, wanted to scrap them.
Well, that's nothing to do with me, I'm afraid. I've not sought any information off Mr. Osborne.
And apparently there's a piece in The Guardian about it today.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I should now ask the Evertonian producer to withdraw the point, should I not? Is he going to do it?
That's a rubbish. Don't be ridiculous.
He says no, he's not going to withdraw the point.
He's not going to withdraw it because you probably got your vet rant from, probably something you read in the Vet's Journal or something like that.
The Vet's Journal?
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't get the Vet's Journal.
Well, you see. That's because you're not as well informed as I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jamie says this, I wonder what Mike Parry's vet bills would have been like for his demented dog that bashed its head.
You see, why do people make fun of that? A poor little dog who suddenly had, the equivalent of human paralysis or something like that. You know? What do you call it? When people...
I don't know, epilepsy.
Epilepsy, that's right, yeah. Bashes itself to death by bashing its head against the wall.
Well,
people
you're the one
think
who's
it's
told
funny.
The story.
Yeah, and you're the one who keeps...
I don't think it's funny at all.
Keeps telling people it's funny.
I don't think it's funny.
You're not fit to look after a dog because your dog had epilepsy and bashed its head against the wall till it died.
Well, I mean, in many ways,
you're not really my fault.
You're not fit to look after a dog. White says this, how about a shout-out for Steve Claridge, who was playing up front today for Salisbury FC versus Portsmouth.
Was he?
Aged 51.
Blimey, well, good luck to him.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Well, I suppose it's quite amazing, but he is a former professional footballer.
Yeah, but he's still playing, what you might call very competitive football at the age of 51.
Well, you and I are still broadcasting well into our 50s, so,
Well, you think that's a similarly amazing event, do you?
Well, you've got to keep going.
Sitting in a chair for 3 hours.
No, wear and tear and all that kind of stuff. Brain power, mates, brain power. It can get to you.
I'm a bit worried about your brain, though, at the moment. I'm worried that you're losing your faculties faster than you're losing your hair.
Oh, really?
I am. But we have almost come to the end of another show. We're going to take a couple of days off. We'll be back next week, though. We are the Two Mikes.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The warm-up with the Two Mikes on Talk Sport.
Well, have you seen the time?
Well, listen, when you're talking about, people's valleys being flooded, the time is irrelevant.
No, not to them it's not. The time's running out for them.
That's true.
As indeed it is for you.